question that we need to talk about is question number 6. Yes, question number 6. Herein, consider two statements in a question, and they're just asking whether or not this information is enough to solve the question, right? And this can also be thought of as a trick question. What happens is, you know that if there is a equation in two variables, if we have x and y, if I have x and y, then I need two equations to solve two different variables. But in this particular question, I see that there are three variables. There are 3 pizzas, 7 frappes and 1 ice cream, and only 2 statements. So at first glance, you will feel that, okay, no, it is insufficient, and you will mark the wrong answer and move on. But for this particular question, there is a different thing that is happening. See here, 3 pizzas, 7 frappes and 1 ice cream costs 120 rupees. So 3p plus 7f plus I is equal to 120. Second statement says 5 pizzas, 9 frappes and 3 ice cream cost 164. So 5p plus 9f plus 3i is equal to 164, right? Now if I multiply this by 3, I can eliminate I altogether, right? And I don't even need to calculate. If I eliminate I altogether, can I get my answer? That is the first thing. And now let's look at one more thing. What are they asking you? How much does 2 pizzas, 4 frappes and 1 ice cream cost? Now 2 pizza, if I just subtract this from this, right, what will I get? 2 pizza, right? 9 minus 7 will be how much? 2 frappe, right? And 2 ice cream I can get. This much I can get directly, right? In another way, one more thing I can do is that I can add both of these things together. If I add both these together, what do I get? I get 8 pizzas plus 9 and 7 is 16 frappe plus 4 ice cream. And what is this? 284. If I just directly add, and now I look at this statement, I have to answer for 2 pizza, 4 frappe, 1 ice cream. If I just divide this entire equation by 4, I will get my answer. So what am I trying to do? The thing that I have to do is that even without looking for the direct answer, first see what are the different ways in which I can calculate for these two different equations. And by this understanding, by that pure calculation only, sometimes you will be able to see that the equation will get solved. So the correct answer for this question is, both the statements are required to answer this question, and it can be answered. This is a data sufficient condition. This is not data insufficient. Of course, one statement alone is not enough to answer this question. That is there for sure, right? So I am able to answer that question 6. The correct answer is C. Okay, do you understand? We have to try and attempt the question first. Don't attempt all of these questions just by looking at the face value. No, reasoning means that you have to try and attempt, right? We have to try adding the equations, we have to try subtracting the equations, and we will see where the correct answer will be there. All right, so spend some time in the question. That was question 6. Now question 7. Consider 2 statements and 4 conclusions given below. You have to take all these take the statements to be true even if they seem to be at variance from the commonly known facts. Read all the conclusions and then decide which of the given conclusions logically follow from the statements disregarding commonly known facts. Okay, so we have to think only according to what they are telling us. So some planets are stars. What does that mean? That some planets, if these are planets, some of these planets are stars. In the same way, if this is planets, it can also mean that some of these planets are stars. Now, the first statement means both of these. We cannot be sure. Statement 1 means either. We only have this much information. In the same way, some stars are satellites. So, if these are stars, some stars can be satellites and some stars can be satellites. This can also be true. I have said stars to be this, so that will work. All right. Now, both of these statements together, what can they be? Both these statements together can be, there are some planets, some planets can be stars and some stars can be satellites. This can be true. And at the same time, if I take this condition, then some planets are stars and some stars are satellites. This can happen, right? It can be outside. What I'm saying is that some part of the stars can be satellites also. All of this can happen. Again, we are not sure. We are still in a realm of options in these particular statements. Now, what are the conclusions? Are some planets satellites? Is it necessary that always some planets are satellites? No, I can have this condition also. So conclusion 1 cannot follow. No planet is a satellite. That is also not necessary because this condition is also possible. This one, some planets are satellites, some planets are stars and some stars are satellites. If that is the case, then it is still possible. So I cannot be sure. That's why conclusion 2 can also not follow. All planets are satellites. Again, this never came into the picture. All satellites are planets. Again, no. So none of the above is my correct answer. What I want you to practice is, for this type of questions, make sure that you draw all of the options that are there. Get comfortable with these Venn diagrams and then you will not make a mistake. So next question is question 8. You have 7 people standing at the boarding gate of the airport, right? Now you have 2 statements and their question is, who is standing at the exact center of the queue? All right, how many people? 7 people. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, right? And they are asking you who is standing at the middle. This is my question. Now let's see what is the information that I'm getting. I'm getting that John is standing at the front of the queue, right? So if John is standing at the front of the queue and Sarah is standing behind him, Sarah is standing behind him does not mean that Sarah is standing immediately behind him. Sarah can be here, 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 wherever. So from statement 1 alone, though, I can't get anything. So this is not true. Then David is standing behind Sarah. Now from statement 2, all I know is Sarah is somewhere and David is after her, right? Standing behind Sarah. Then Emily is standing behind David. Behind David is Emily. And Farooq is standing third from the end. If Farooq is standing third from the end, 1 2 3, I know Farooq is here. Now this is the only information I know. Can I place other people also just by knowing this much? So statement 2 alone is not sufficient. Now let's think of both of these statements together. I know that John is standing at the front of the queue. Now if I put Sarah here, then can I fix the position of D and E? No, right? Because I cannot fix the position. Even if I try and fix Sarah's position, that means that both of these statements together cannot help me solve the question, and my answer is D. Here I'm not adding any extra information, I'm not subtracting any information, but whatever has been told, I cannot make any more sense from it. There is less direction. I don't have more information to figure out who is standing where. That's why question 8, the correct answer is D. Now question 9. Shekhar is lighter than Qaeda. So S is less than Q and P is lighter than Tarun only. P is lighter than Tarun only. Matlab P is only lighter than Tarun. Everybody else he is heavier, right? So that means Tarun is the heaviest. If Poke is lighter than only Tarun, that means Poke is heavier than everybody else. Do you get it? And if Poke is lighter than Tarun, that means Tarun is heavier than Poke. That means Tarun is the heaviest according to statement 1. Statement 1 is sufficient to answer the question, but I have this option also. Now let's look at statement 2. Now Qaeda is heavier than only Shekhar. If Q is heavier than Shekhar only, matlab Q is lighter than everybody else, right? And only heavier than Shekhar. Shekhar is the lightest. And Tarun is heavier than Poke and Ronnie, right? Tarun is heavier than Poke and Ronnie. That means that you're able to identify that T is greater than P and R, right? And Q is greater than only S. From everybody else it is smaller. That means S will come in somewhere here, right? That means I'm able to identify that T is again the heaviest, which means I'm able to answer the question by statement 2 also, which makes my answer C only. Alright, do you understand? I'm able to identify what is happening, and please look at the way that we think. We try and think to and fro, heavier and lighter. What does this mean? You have to keep trying to think about what they are saying. So that was question 8. Then question 10. Let's look at what they're saying. In the English alphabet, first 3 letters position is increased by 2. The next 3 is increased by 3. Again by 2, then by 3. At the end, the position of the middle 2 letters is exchanged. What letters are at the exact center of the new arrangement? Now, let's do this. You have 26 letters. So, A, B, C, and we have to move in groups of 3. So, I'll write in groups of 3. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, and Y, Z. What are they saying? That for the first 3 letters, increase by 2. So I have to do plus 2 here, then plus 3 here, plus 2 here, plus 3 here, plus 2 here, plus 3 here, plus 2, plus 3, plus 2. Now let's see. A plus 2 is C. So C, D, E, right? A, B, C, B, C, D, C, D, E, right? And then plus 3, D, E, F, 1, 2, 3. It will be G, E ka will be I. So I just have to copy G, H, I here, right? Then add 2. What will this be? I, J, K. What will this be? M, N, O. What will this be? O, P, Q. This will be S, T, U. S will become U, V, W. This will become Y, Z, A. Y will become A and B. Understood? So this is how I'm able to identify what is happening here. Now, at the end of this change, they're saying exchange the middle 2 letters. In 26 letters, middle 2 will be 12 on this side, 12 on this side, right? 12 2s are 24, which means 2 will be left behind in the middle. So I have to count 12 from here. I know, and I keep telling you, remember that you have E, J, O, T, Y. This is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I have to look for 12. That means J plus 2. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Plus 2, 12 will be here. These are my letters, 13 and 14. I have to exchange these, and they're saying which are at the exact center of the new arrangement. That will be O and P. They're not saying in that order. I have to exchange and make it PO. But these are the 2 letters that are there in the exact center. Do you get it? All we have to do is that we have to be systematic in this way. If I don't break them into groups of 3, I will get lost. I will have to mark. If you write this thing like this, then you'll have to mark like this. You'll have to write 3, 2. And if you don't mark everything, you are bound to get confused. There can be some silly mistake in the processing. So try and use this space that you have next to your question. Use your rough sheet. Be meticulous in the way that you're doing reasoning, and then nothing will go wrong. That is question 10. Next question is question 15. Consider the 2 statements and a question. Statement 1. Andy receives a salary of 1,000 and he gets 3 successive equal percentage rises in his salary. The question is, how much percentage hike did he receive? They're saying equal percent was there. I don't know what percent, so statement 1 is not enough. Hike in salary of an employee, Andy, is such that the sum of 100 turns into 140.99. They're saying that there was initial salary was rupees 100, some percent change increase was happening, and that became 140 plus 99. Can I use this to identify what is the increment? 140.99 minus 100 upon 100 is what percentage increase happened. So I can calculate from 2. So statement 2 is enough. Do I need both these statements together? No, only statement 2 is sufficient. That will be my answer. So my answer is B for question 15. Now, question 16, sequence and series. Whenever you are presented with sequence and series questions, I want you to be able to expose yourself to as many questions, so that once that happens, then you can just see directly that, okay, I can see what is happening. Otherwise, they will just seem like random numbers to you. For example, in order to identify this question, you have to know that there is a different type of sequence in which there are two series that are going on. Right? So here, I want you to be able to see that there are two series that have been joined onto each other. One is this 2, 8, 32, 128, 512, 2024 and 8192. And the second one is this one 5, 10, 20, 40, 80, 160. Right? So these two series I have to calculate separately. Now let's look at the first one. I have 2, 8, 32, 128, 512, 2024 and 8192. The other series that I have is 5, I'll use it here, 5, 10, 20, 40, 80, 160. Okay, so the first series is a series of 2 into, it is 2 into 4 ki power something, right? 4 ki power index, which means this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, this is 6. So 2 into 4 ki power 0 is 2 into 1, which will be 2. 2 into 4 ki power 1 will be 2 into 4, which is equal to 8. 2 into 4 ki power square, 4 4s are 16, 16 2s are 32. This will be 32. 2 into 4 ki power cube, 16 4s are 64. 64 into 2 is 128. So on. 2 into 4 ki power 4 is 512. But 2 into 4 ki power 5 is not 2024. It is 2048, because 4 ki power 5 is 1024, right? So this is what I've identified, that okay, this should be 2048. Continuing, 2 into 4 ki power 6 is still 8192, right? Now let's look at the other series. This one is 5 into 2 ki power. So 5 into 2 ki power 0 is 5. 5 into 2 ki power 1 is 10. 5 into 2 ki power 2, 2 2s are 4, 4 5, 20. 5 into 2 ki power 3, 5 into 8, 40. 5 into 2 ki power 4, 8 2s are 16, 16 5s are 180. And 5 into 2 ki power 5, 16 to 32, 32 into 5, 160. Right? So this series is okay. I found a mistake in the first series 2048. What does this mean? That you have to know that, okay, for this, to be able to solve this question, what you require is, one, that there is a type of series in which I add in two different series and then join them together. The second thing is, I have to be able to identify that, okay, this particular number is multiplied by 2. So first step was that I'm able to see that, okay, if I divide this by 2, what is left behind? This is 1, this is 4, this is 16, right? This is 64 and so on. And once I see these numbers, then I'm able to see, okay, this is 4 ki power 0, this is 4 ki power 1, 4 square, 4 cube and so on, right? Then I see here again, if I divide these numbers by 2, what is left? 5, then 2, then 4, then 8 and so on and so forth, right? When that happens, only then I'm able to see the entire series. What does that mean? That to be able to see these series, to be able to identify these series in the actual paper, you have to do a lot of questions. What that means is that you don't just need to solve these series questions from the ones that you get in the test. I want you to do them from a set of questions. That means that I want you to solve a chapter from some sort of book wherein all of these series questions are given in order. Because when that happens, first you get trained to identify a single series, right? Then you are trained to identify, okay, that series can be multiplied by a fixed number also. Then you are able to identify that, okay, I can mix these two series also together, and then you come to this question. So that level of difficulty has to be progressive for you. Only then you can train your mind to be able to identify these questions. Okay, so that was question 16. Then Let's look at question 17. Here what is happening? 9I 19S. See, there is one thing that I want you to know. At least I would want you to remember what alphabet corresponds to what number. As soon as I see this, I know that okay, J is 10 and 7 is G. So at least one thing is sorted. I just have to discover what the number is. Now, 9 and 19 and 7, right? 18, 22 and 10. 18, 22, 10, I can feel that okay, 18 plus 22 will give me something with a 0. It gives me 40, and then if I have to come to 10, it means I divide it by 4 and I get 10. I see this from here. Now I want to check this same hypothesis here. So 9 plus 19 is what? 28. 28 divided by 4 will be 7. Do I have 7 there? Yes, that means that my thought process is correct. Now all I have to do is I have to do 13 plus 11, which is 24. Divide it by 4 and I get 6. And my correct answer here is 6. Corresponding to 6, what is the number? What is the alphabet? It is F. So my answer becomes 6F. Now, if you are not able to see this in the paper, what do you do? Ma'am, I tried a lot. I stood looking at this particular cube for so long, but I was not able to identify. I was trying to do this 19 plus 18. I was doing 22 plus 9. I was doing this diagonal. Something was happening, right? And I could not identify. What I want you to do is don't get stuck in this question. If you don't see the series, if you don't see the sequence, if you don't see what is happening, then there is no point wasting so much time on it. Move on. Because reasoning means that you are trying to arrive at some thought. You can't arrive at that thought randomly, right? It will either strike you or it will not. So it might strike you after 5 more questions. So let it go. But for practice, the more questions you see, the more there is that inception in your head that this sort of thing can happen. Let me try, add and subtract, divide, right? If that is the case, then you will be eventually able to remember. But please remember, my core focus is that at least I know this, that this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. At least J10, I'm very sure of what it means. Okay, so that was question 17. Now, question 18, again, somewhat challenging. Let's see. 12, 18, 27, 40.5, 60.75, 91.125. Some of my students get scared just looking at these decimals. And when you see the option, you say, array, 4 decimal places, very difficult, let me run away. But no, let us try and see this question so that if you ever have to do this question, you at least understand that, okay, there is this one type that exists. So what is happening? Do here. 12 and 18. What is the difference? 6. 18 and 27. What is the difference? What is the difference? 9. Right? 27 minus 18 is 9. Yes. Right? Then 40 and 27. What is the difference? It is 13.5. 27 and 13 will be 40, and then there is a difference of 0.5. Right? Then 40.5 and 60.75. What is the difference? The difference is 20.25. Right? Then 91 and 60.75. What is the difference here? The difference here is 31 point, how much? 25 or 625, 525, right? 31 point, this way 375. 31.375 will be the difference. If that is the case, now I know that okay, there is some sort of difference. Once I write these numbers down, only then it becomes visible that okay, 6 is the half of 12. 9 is the half of 18. 13 and a half is the difference of 27. 20.25 is the difference of 40, is the half of 40.5. Then 31.375 is the difference between 60.75. Right? So once I see that, then I'm able to identify that okay, pehli baat to this is what is happening in this sequence. If it strikes you, only then you can move on, otherwise you cannot. Right? But sometimes UPSC will give you a golden chance, which is the second sequence starts from here. So at least I know A, B, C, D. They, so I can directly just copy. Here, A is 27 because it is following the same logic. This is 40.5. This is 60.75. This is 91.125. At least this much is sure. So if instead of D, they asked you D, so then you would have your answer directly. But here I have to calculate. What do I have to calculate? Add half of 91.125 to it and you will have your answer. So first thing that you're able to identify, 91 का half कितना होगा? Around 45. 91 का half अगर around 45 होगा, if I'm adding that here, directly my answer has to be above 135. 91 plus 45 is how much? 516 and 136. Directly I know this is my answer. I don't need to do these decimals, right? So these decimals are only to scare you. But if you're able to identify what is happening in this actual sequence, the solving of this question is very quickly. You don't really need to do a lot of calculation. You just have to identify the answer. All I did was I identified, is it less or more than 136? 90.125 ka 91.125 ka half also I did not do. I just know 90 ka half is 45. If that is the case, I can add directly and then do. The other half of 1.125, I can see that, okay, it will be somewhere around 0.6. So you have your answer. That is question 18. The reason that I'm solving this question like this is because you also need to know how is it that sometimes some people solve their paper very quickly. Right? You will always see that in your CSAT paper, there will be some students who have finished quite early. This is the reason. They don't need to calculate so much. You have enough practice. You have enough exposure to these questions. The sequence is visible. You don't need to calculate. You just pick the answer and solve. Okay? So that was question 18. Then question 19. Again, this also requires a separate skill set. See, let us consider a fraction whose denominator is smaller than the square of the numerator by unity. So what are they saying? That denominator, if numerator is n, so then denominator is smaller than the square of the numerator by unity. So n square minus 1. This is the fraction. If 2 is added to both the numerator and denominator, if you have n plus 2 and d plus 2, then this fraction is greater than 1 by 3. But if you do n minus 3 and d, if we subtract 3 from the numerator and the denominator and you do d minus 3, the fraction will be positive but smaller than 1 by 10, right? And greater than 0. This is what they're saying. Now consider the following statements. The numerator of the given fraction is square of smallest even number and denominator is 5 times 3. Again, it seems difficult, but what are they saying? They're saying numerator of the given fraction is the square of the smallest even number. Smallest even number is what? 2, right? So what is it? 4. 2 ka square is 4 and denominator is 5 times 3. Denominator is 5 into 3, which is 15. So option 1 is saying that this number is 4 by 15. Second statement is saying numerator of the given fraction is the cube of the smallest even number. Numerator is, smallest even number is again 2 and numerator is its cube. 2 into 2 into 2 is 8, right? Then denominator is 7 times 9. 7 9s are 63. They are saying these are the two options. So which of the above statements are correct? Now I know these options. I put them here. Is 4 by 15 following this? So for 4 by 15, n into n square minus 1. 4 into 4 ka square minus 1 means 4 upon 16 minus 1, 4 by 15. So this is correct. N plus 2 plus d by 2 has to be greater than 1 by 3. 4 by 15 plus 2 plus 2, right? Means 6 upon 17. Is that greater than 1 by 3? Yes. 6 upon 17 is more towards its half. So yes, 1/3 of 17 will be less than this. So this is true. Then 4 by 15 minus 3 means 1 by 12. Is it less than 1 by 10? 1 by 12 has to be less than 1 by 10 because 1 pie divided into 10 pieces and the same pie divided into 12 pieces, the 12 pieces will be smaller, right? So directly I'm able to see that, okay, option 1, statement 1 is correct. Now let's do the same calculation for the second one. Second number was what? 8 by 63. So now I have to calculate for 8 by 63. 8 See, sometimes you do dumb things. You say 8 and you write 6. So 8 upon 8 ka square minus 1 means 8, 8, 64, 63. Statement 1 was okay. Then 8 plus 2 and 63 plus 2. Is it greater than 1 by 3? 8 plus 2 will be how much? 10. And 63 plus 2 will be 65. 10 by 65, is it greater than 1 by 3? No. So this statement is invalid, which means statement 2 is wrong and only statement 1 is correct, and I have my answer. Sometimes the question can be lengthy enough to confuse you, but still not a lot of calculation was required, and I have my answer. So I don't want you to be scared of these questions. At least the questions, even for students who are scared of maths, who don't like maths, at least entertain the question, at least try and understand what they're trying to say. Otherwise, you can easily be scared by just writing this. Instead of writing 4 by 15, I can write this long statement. But you don't have to get scared. You just have to translate. Think of yourself as a translator. I'm only trying to write down what the statement is saying, and then at least you will start trying to understand these questions. So that was question 19. Next question is 25. Question 25. Consider two statements and the question. The question is, who is the tallest between V, W, X, Y, Z? Right? Now, each of X and Y is taller than each of Z and W. Matlab, X is taller than Z, Y is taller than W. Is that what they're saying? Right? Then, the second thing is also that X comma Y is greater than Z comma W. This is also what they're saying by statement 1. Right? This is what we have to understand. Are they saying this one or this one? They are saying this one. Right? X is taller than Y but shorter than V. X is taller than Y but shorter than V. Right? And X and Y are taller than both Z and W. Now, statement 1 was here, this is statement 2, but if I add those two statements together, I also know that X and Y are taller than Z and W. I can write V is greater than X is greater than Y, and these two are greater than Z comma W. So I am able to identify who's the tallest, which is V. That means both the statements are required to answer the question, and I have my answer. Okay, so that was question 25. Now, which of the following resembles the mirror image of the given word? Now, effective. If I place the mirror here, do I get this image? E, F, F? Yes. If I have this one, look at this. The C is still correct. This cannot happen, right? And this E is also in the same direction, which means if I have to get a mirror image of this E, I have to place the mirror here or here, right? If I have to place the mirror here, then F has to get, inverted. That is not happening. That's why option B is wrong. Then look at option C. Again, I am putting this mirror here. E, F, F, E, C, D, I, V, E. If this is happening, where am I putting the mirror? I cannot identify. That's why this one is wrong. This is a double mirror image, right? Then, here though spelling itself has changed. So this cannot be the answer. The correct answer is only option A. At least this question I don't want you to get wrong. It is just visual. Then question 30. What is happening? Malini goes to the market for shopping in the north direction. Whenever you get this, please remember north, south, east and west. So Malini is going to shop in the north direction and walks 6 kilometers. 6 kilometers. Then she turns a left. If you are walking like this, you take a left. We always assume that the left and right turns are in 90 degree. So she turns left and walks 8 kilometers. 8 kilometers has to be more than 6 kilometers. Okay? And walks to reach the Reliance Mall. Okay, Reliance Mall was here. Then she bought some utensils and then turned left. If you're facing here, you're turning left, you turned in this direction and she walked another 6 kilometers. 6 kilometers, same 6 kilometers to reach her uncle's office. Uncle's office is here. Uncle's office is here. So Malini is now facing what direction? This direction. What is this direction? South direction, and I have my answer. If you have clarity here, you will be able to solve it one go. If you try to do it more quickly, if you try to rush through, if you get nervous, then you will miss out some information and you will not have that clarity. Okay, so please try and stay with the question. Give it the time it deserves. Then question 40. Consider the following statements and conclusions. Some chips are sweet. Some chips are sweet. It can also be that some chips are sweet. All shrugs are clothes. Now, all shrugs are clothes, right? And all sweets are shrugs. If all sweets are shrugs, either all sweets are shrugs or all sweets are shrugs and all shrugs are clothes. So, clothes. This is the only option that I have, right? So, to be on the safer side, I can do this one, right? It takes both of these issues into account. Now, what are the conclusions? Some chips are shrugs. Some chips are shrugs. That is true. All shrugs are sweet. Not necessary. All clothes are chips. Again, not necessary. All shrugs are chips. All shrugs are chips. Again, not necessary. Only conclusion one follows. So again, if I have that clarity in my mind, then there is no doubt about what is happening. If I get confused, then I will get stuck in this question forever. Okay. So question 40, correct answer is option A. Then next question is question 45. Again, here we have to calculate. What are they saying? If 11 June 1998 was a Monday, what was the day on September 9, 2002? The way that we solve this is we have to count the number of odd days. And we are in June. So we have to count from June to June and then from September. So 1998 to 2002. How many years? 1998, 1999, 2000, 2001 and 2002. Okay, so in 1 year you get one odd day. That is what you remember, right? So 1998, 11 June 1998 to 11 June 1999 will be one odd day. Yes. Now from 1999 12th of June till 11th of June of 2000, February 2000 will have occurred. February 2000 is that of a leap year. So that means I have 2 odd days over here. I'll repeat this point. See, 2000 is a leap year. This much we know. So if 2000 is a leap year, you will have one extra day. February 29th will be there. I am counting from June to June. That means February will occur from June 12th of 1999 till June 11th of 2000. That means for February 29, I have to add another odd day. That's why I have 2 odd days here, right? Then from 12th of June 2000 to 11th of June 2001, one odd day. From here to here again, one odd day. What happens after 12th of June 2002? I will calculate later, but right now I have 2 plus 1, 3, plus 1, 4, plus 1, 5. I have 5 odd days from the years. Okay, this is the first thing I have to calculate. Now, after June 2002, after June 2002, what are the months? June, July, August and September. Okay, now after 11th June, I have from 12th June onwards, right? 12th June onwards till the 1st of July. How many days? I have 19 days. July mein how many days? 31 days, right? August mein how many days? 31 days. And September I have to come till 9. Okay, now when I add this, how much is this? 40, right? How much is this? 40, 50. Yes. What is the total here? 90. 90 by 7. How many odd days? 7 ones are 7. Right? What is left behind? 20. 7 twos are 14. 6 is the remainder. I have 6 odd days here from the dates. I have 5 odd days from the year. 5 plus 6 is how much? 11. and this 11 I divide by 7 finally. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 4 is the remainder that I will get, right? And if it was a Monday, Monday plus 4, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 1, 2, 3, 4. The last day will be a Friday. So what do I have to calculate? 9th of September 2002 is a Friday. Alright, this is how we calculate odd and even days. So question 45, the correct answer was C. Then next question we have to do is question 46. Consider the question and two statements given below in respect of the age of 7 friends, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6 and B7. Who is the second youngest person among the friends? This is the question. Now, B1 is older than B4. B1 is greater than B4, but B4 is just younger than B3, right? So if I put them in order, so then B4 is just younger than B3, right? So he is just younger than B3, right? But B1 is older than B4. So B1 will be somewhere early on. B1 can be anywhere, right? Then B2 is not the youngest. B5 is just older than B3. B5 will be here, right? And they're saying that B2 is not the youngest. There will be someone that is here, right? And how many are there? 7, right? I cannot identify who is the youngest, who is the oldest, but right now I know that this is the information that I have. Okay, B5 is older than is just older than B3. B2 is not the youngest. B2 will be somewhere here, and B1 has to be somewhere further. That is all I know. Then statement 2, B3 is older than only 2 other friends. B3 se chote only 2 people are there. B7 is just older than B1, who is older than B4. B4 is younger than B3. If B4 is here or B4 is here, right? Then B1 is older than B4. B1 will be somewhere here. B7 has to be older than here, and B3 is only older than other 2 friends. So this is the only thing that I have from statement 2. If I try to combine them together, now becomes the real game. So now B3 is older than any 2 people. B4 is just younger than B3. So what do I know? B3 is older than only 2 other people from statement 1. B5 is just older than B3. B1 is older than B4. Right, B7 is just older than B4. B4 is younger than B3. B4 has to be somewhere here. This much we have identified. B2 is not the youngest. So what will I do? I will place B2 somewhere, right? And I know that, okay, but B4 has to be somewhere here, right? B2 is not the youngest. Then B1 is older than B4. B1 has to be somewhere here, right? B7 is just older than B1. So B7 is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more option is left. I have to do B2 and I have to place excuse me, B6. Okay, so B4, B3, B5, B1, B7 I have established. They are asking you who is the second youngest person among the friends. So right now I am able to identify that B4 has to be somewhere here, and because of that I know where B4 is placed. Other than that I don't know anything else. So both these statements are enough to answer the question, right? So that is question 46. Then question 47. Consider the question and 2 statements given below in respect of the arrangement of students sitting in the canteen. Question is, where is Mahi sitting with respect to Rashid? Okay, so in a row of 17 students in the canteen, Mahi is sitting 11th from the right end, right? Who is this person? This is Mahi, right? And Rashid is sitting 8th from the left end, 8th from here. And who is this? Rashid. And total is 17. Can I identify their relative position? Yes. For statement 2, Mahi is 5th from the right end and Rashid is 9th from the left end, but I don't know how many people in this row. So statement 2 is not enough, 1 is enough. Here I don't have to calculate, I just have to remember that this is not carrying forward in statement 2. Statement 1 is telling me that there are 17 people, but statement 2 is not telling me how many people there are, right? So this is there to confuse you, you have to pay attention. 47, the correct answer is A. Then next question is 55. Okay, 55. What is the series? There are prime numbers and then perfect squares. Again, two series. 11, 13, 17, 19, 23 prime numbers, perfect squares. 3 ka square, 4 ka square, 5 ka square, 6 ka square. 5 ka square has to be 25. 21 is the wrong term here. And I'm able to identify the series in one look only. That means that if I know the answer, if I know that this type of series are there, then I will solve it very quickly. If not, I will just keep looking at this number and keep wasting my time. So expose yourself to enough questions. Then question 56. If there are 51 marbles in a jar, there is a jar, there are 51 marbles. 50 are white and 1 is black. Then in how many ways can 2 marbles be selected at random so that at least one of the marble is white? If at least one is white, that means I am okay with 1 white, 1 black, and I am also okay with both of them being white. Right? I'm also okay with both of them being white. Now, what is the way for me to select at least one white? For one white, I have to select one white, 1 out of 50. So you write it to be 50 C1, right? Upon how to select one black out of only one black available, 1 C1, right? This will be how to select one white, one black. How to select 2 white? What you get? You get 50 C2, right? Now let us calculate. 50 C1 upon 1 C1 means what? 1 C1 is 1, ignore. 50 C1 means 50 factorial upon 50 minus 1 factorial upon 1 factorial, which means 50 factorial upon 49 factorial into 1 factorial, which means 50 into 49 factorial upon 49 factorial cancelled, and my answer is 50. So there are 50 ways of doing this, right? Then 50 C2 means what? 50 factorial upon 50 minus 2 factorial upon 2 factorial, which means 50 into 49 into 48 factorial upon 48 factorial upon 2 factorial, which means 25 into 49. But this is a bad way to calculate. See, when we have to calculate, multiplying 25 into 49 is a problematic thing, but 49 into 50 was relatively easy. So I just multiply this. 5 9s are 45, 5 4s are 20, 2 4 5 0. I have to divide it by 2. I can divide it by 2 directly. 12 and 25. 24 ka half is 12, 50 ka half is 25. My answer is 1225. Here I have to add this 50. So 50 plus 1225 is 1275, and I have my answer. Do you get it? All I have to know is how to select from different bags, and it has to do with, I just have to know one formula, which is of combination. Question 56, the correct answer was B. Then question 57. Read the following set of information and answer the question below. Ritu is younger than Suman but elder than Reena. Ritu is younger than Suman, but Ritu is greater than Reena. Gayatri is elder than Suman, right? Gayatri is greater than Suman. Sharmila is younger than Reena. Sharmila is younger than Reena. Who is the eldest among them all? Gayatri. I have my answer. Okay. Straightforward. That was question 57. Again, we have to practice so that our brain does not get tired when we are halfway through the question paper. Then, question 60. Pointing to the boy on the stage. So there is a boy on the stage. Vidya says, now I don't know what is the gender of Vidya. You have to remember this. Just because you have the name, it does not mean that you have to know what the gender is. So this boy is the only brother of the daughter. Only brother of the daughter of the wife of my husband. Right? So how is the boy on stage related to Vidya's son's sister? He is her brother. That is what I have to answer. Again, it sounds like a riddle. The language is a little bit confusing, but you just have to keep following what they're saying. Okay, so that is question 60. Then question 63. 5 students, Pakiza, Johnny, Rohan, Dinesh and Raman went for a swimming and horse riding test. 5 people, they went for a swimming test and they went for a horse riding test. Now, 3, 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now, interviewer judged the 5 students and gave them ranking for their swimming and horse riding test in descending order. Raman was ranked first in swimming. So, Raman is first in swimming. But he was last in horse riding. Then, Rohan scored the same rank in both horse riding and swimming, and he was just above Raman in Raman in horse riding. So if Rohan was here and he got the same rank in both these things. In swimming, Pakiza was just above Dinesh. In swimming, I just have one pair where they can be one on top of the other. So Pakiza was just above Dinesh. But in horse riding, Pakiza was in the middle. Right? Johnny scored a better rank than Pakiza in horse riding. So Johnny got a better here. Johnny can be here also. Right? Who ranked the first among horse riding test? I am not sure. Right? So it cannot be determined. So this is all the information I have. If I keep thinking of what my options are, if that is the case, I will be very clear here. Question 63. The correct answer was D, cannot be determined. Now, question 66. Using the numbers 4455 and 666 as digits, how many distinct numbers greater than 10 lakh can be formed? That means we are looking for 7-digit numbers. Now, what are the different ways in which I can do this? It's simply 7 factorial upon 2 4s, so 2 factorial, 2 5s, so 2 factorial, 3 6s, so 3 factorial. 7 factorial is the number of ways that these 3 numbers can be arranged. Right? All I have to do is calculate. This is 7 into 6 into 5 into 4 into 3 factorial, 2 factorial, 2 factorial, 3 factorial, 3 factorial, 3 factorial cancel, 2 2s are 4, 7 6 are 42, 42 into 5 is how much? 5 2s are 10, 4 2s are 8, 4 5s are 20, 5 2s are 10, so my answer is 210. This is my answer here. Very straightforward. That was question 66. Now, question 75. Here, when you see this sort of table, please be aware that, okay, here some sort of calculation will be required. What are they saying? Consider the following table which represents the percentage of different variety of cars sold by a company vis-a-vis this target. So, every company, these are companies, they had their target that they had to sell 75 Altos. But out of that 75, they only achieved 84% of their target. So 84% of 75 is what they achieved. Right? What is the question? What is the percentage of target which company car B has achieved? So they are saying what is the total percent of total target that B has achieved. So सबसे पहले तो you can calculate what is the total target for B. So 75 plus 75 is 150. 150 plus 150 is 300. 300 plus 200 is 500. 500 plus 100 is 600. 600 plus 100 plus 50 is 650. So total target was 650. Now I have to calculate how many cars did they sell. So they sold 76% of 75 Alto. Then Baleno, they did 75% of, sorry, 40 of 75%. Baleno, they did 40% of 75. Then Suzuki, they did 86% of 150. Brezza, they did 73% of 200. Then they did 65% of 100, and they did 70% of 50. Now, how much of this I am able to calculate and how much I have to multiply? 65% of 100 is just 65, right? Then 70% of 50 is again direct multiplication, 35. Excuse me. 70% of 50 is just 35. So 70% of 50 is just 35. So I write 35 here. 65% of 100 is just 65. 73% of 200 is just multiplying 73, which will be 146. Then 75% of 40, 40% of 75. Please remember, 75 is 3 by 4 of 100. So 40% of this will simply be how much? 30 cars, right? So this is just 30. 76% of 75 I have to calculate, 86% of 150 I have to calculate. This is 57 and this is 129. Now I have to add these together, right? This comes out to be 462. Now 462 upon 650 is what percent of their target? It is 71% of their target. So this type of table type question does take calculation. Please do it if you have the time. If you are able to identify that the numbers are worth multiplying, they do seem easy. If you are bad at arithmetic, please only do this when you have last extra time available, right? Otherwise, don't touch this question if you are slow with maths and also get confused. Okay, so that is question 75. Then question 77. The Doha airport has a small runway. So flights stand in a row for takeoff. One afternoon there were 11 flights, namely A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, O, standing at the runway in a particular manner. Consider the following statements in the question. So H is standing to the immediate left of D. H is standing to the immediate left of D and third to the right of I. 3, 2, 1, I. 1, 2, 3. This is what I know. Flight J is in the immediate vicinity of A and B. J is immediately between A and B, and J is third to the left of flight G. So 3, 2, 1 and G, right? Third to the left of G. This is what statement 1 is telling me, right? Then second statement is flight A is standing second to the right of flight E. If E is here, A is standing second to the right of E. And E is at one of the ends. Naturally, if A is at the right of E, E has to be at the left end. F is standing next to the right of D. F is standing next to the right of D. And D is second to the right of O. That means O, 1, 2, D. This is what I know from second statement. Separately, are they enough to answer the question? No. What is the question? Which is the flight standing at the center of the row? Now, if I try and combine these two together, I have E blank A, right? After A, I have to know that, okay, J has to be there and B has to be there, right? Then there is one space and then I have to put G. Now, at the same time, I have to do O double blank D and F, right? Now, I also have I blank H and D, right? So I can put I here because here though I don't have space. I blank blank H and D, right? After D I have to put F. Now I also have to place O somewhere, right? O, I'm not sure right now. O was, D is second to the right of O. Yes, right. So O can sit here. D is second to the right of O. Am I missing somebody? C is left. So I have all of my people sitting down. Now E, C, A, J, B, I, G, O, H, D, F. I have everybody sitting. They're asking me who is sitting, standing at the center of the row. How many? 11. So I have to be at number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is sitting at the center. So both of them together can be used to solve the question. But please remember that you have to work in steps. That is question 77. Then question 79. Again, syllogism. So some coconuts are radish. If this is coconut, some of them can be radish, and some coconut can be radish like this also. Then all bananas are tomatoes. All bananas are tomatoes. Isme to there is no doubt. Then all radishes are bananas. Now all radishes are what? Bananas. It can be like this banana. It can be like this banana. Right? But then all banana is tomato also. All banana is tomato. All banana is tomato. This is what I know. Now, some coconuts are bananas. That is true. All bananas are radishes. Not necessary. You can be banana which is only tomato. So no. All tomatoes are coconuts. All tomatoes are not coconuts. All tomatoes are not coconuts. No. All bananas are coconuts. Again, no. So only conclusion 1 follows. Please remember that it is not necessary that there is no such thing wherein you can't ask that okay, all wala to conclusion hota hi nahi hai. Because see, can we say that all radish is tomato? That can happen, right? Because all radish can be tomato, all radish can be tomato. So that is allowed from my diagram, which means correct answer here is only option C, but that does not mean that there is no question in which there are no all wala conclusions. All right, that is question 79. Now question 80. What is the value of x in the given sequence? This is not 175, this is 174. So what is the value of x in the given sequence? You have minus 1, 2, 15, 44, 95, 174, 287 and x. What is the series? The series is, first for index it is n minus n square minus n cube. So for the first term it will be 1 minus 1 square minus 1 cube. For second it will be 2 minus 2 square minus 2 cube. So what is this? 1 minus 1 minus 1? 1 minus 1 minus 1 is what? Minus 1, which is the first statement. Then 2 minus 4 minus 8 is how much? 4 minus, this will be, this is plus 4, right? Wait. So second number is 2 plus. So you have, no, it is in the other order. Wait, let's do it again. The sequence actually is n cube minus n square. Yes. So question 80, I'll have to record it again. हमने चेंज किया था. लास्ट में उनको बोलना कि जो लास्ट क्वेश्चन है वो एक बार फिर से करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है? ओके. सो question 80. So what is the value of x in the given sequence? Minus 1, 2, 15, 44, 95, 174, 287 and then x. What is the sequence here? The sequence here is n cube. The sequence n cube minus n square minus n. So for the first statement it will be 1 cube minus 1 square minus 1, which is what? 1. 1 minus 1 minus 1 will be minus 1. So 2 cube minus 2 square minus 2 is what? 8 minus 4 minus 2, which is what? 2. 4 to 6, right? Then third one, 3 ka cube minus 3 ka square minus 3 is how much? You have to do 3 minus 9 minus 27. So 9 and 3 is how much? 12. 27 minus 9 is 15. Minus 12 is 15. Then fourth one, you have 4 ka cube minus 4 ka square minus 4. What will that be? That will be 4. This is 16. This is 64. Right? What will you get? 64 and 4 is 20. 64 minus 20 will be 44. Right? Then for 5. 5 ka cube minus 5 ka square minus 5. What will that be? 5, 25, 125. How much will that be? 95. 125 minus 25 is 100. Minus 5 will be 95. Then for 6. 6 ka cube minus 6 ka square minus 6 means 6, 36. And how much will this be? 36 into 6 is how much? 6, 6, 36. 3, 6, 18, 19, 20, 21. 2, 1, 6 minus 36. Matlab 210 minus 36. That will be 174. Then I have to do for 7. 7 ka cube minus 7 ka square minus 7. 7 minus 49. And 7 ka cube is 49 into 7. 343. Right? 7 9s are 63. 7 4s are 28. 28 and 6 is 34. So 343. Subtract and what do you get? 287. What is left? I have to do for 8 now. My final answer for x is going to be 8 ka cube minus 8 ka square minus 8. How much is it? It is 8, 64, and 64 into 8 is how much? 8 4s are 32, 6 8s are 48, 49, 50, 51, 5 1 2. 5 1 2 minus 64 minus 8. So 64 and 8 is how much? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 2, 72, right? 5 1 2 minus 72. 5 1 2 minus 72 is how much? 0. 51 minus 7 is how much? 11 minus 4 is 4. 440. That is my answer. Alright. So that is question 80. I am able to identify only by knowing that this sort of series existed. If it does not exist, I can keep looking at this one and I will never know. But I will give you a hint. Any time that the series is going from negative to positive, and you can see that the jump is exponential. There is a difference of 100 something here. That means that there will be squares involved. It does not happen directly by multiplication. So try and look for these sequences. Again, for sequences series, the more questions you see, the more exposure you have, the better your performance is going to be. All right. So that was all of the questions from reasoning. All right. And that's all from me today. Thank you.
So now let's discuss our paper. So we'll be discussing the comprehension section of our CSAT paper, right, which you must have appeared, most of you, right? So now let's begin the discussion one by one, slowly, gradually. So the very first passage which you see in front of you, so let's have a quick read. Quickly we'll do the, a quick reading of it. Now, so India has a significant potential for hydropower energy, but the sector has faced challenges in recent years. Climate change has led to reduced snowfall and glaciers melting, affecting water availability for hydropower plants. The environmental impact of dams and the displacement of communities have sparked opposition to new projects. The government has launched several initiatives to promote hydropower, including financial incentives and streamlining of regulatory processes. However, these efforts have been insufficient to boost the sector. And many experts believe that India needs to shift towards renewable energy sources that are more accessible and cost-effective. solar and wind energy have shown significant growth in recent years, and their potential to meet India's energy demands cannot be overlooked. While hydropower will continue to play a role in India's energy mix, the future lies in a diversified and sustainable approach that prioritizes the needs of communities and the environment. So this is the passes, right? So you must have got an idea, because most of you must have attempted the question. So smaller passes, the easy passes, that is about the renewable energy, the significance of it, and at the same time the hydropower energy. So what is its condition in India? What are the challenges when it comes to hydropower energy? And what are the environmental challenges, and why there is a shift required from hydropower to the other renewable energy sources, right? The wind and other solar energy resources, and how that is actually more sustainable, which is more, which actually also accommodates the concerns of communities and environment, right? Both. So this is what the complete crux. You must have got it, everybody. So let's move to the questions immediately. The question is, which one of the following statements best reflects the most critical inference that can be made from the passages given above? So we all know what are the inferences anyway. Most of the questions we see, they are the inferences based questions. Inferences are the next logical corollary of the text. Whatever the text or the piece of writing is given, उसमें लॉजिकल तरीके से what would be the next corollary, that is what the inference is. थोड़ा सा और हम आसान तरीके से बात करें, so we all know every piece of writing has the two parts, premise and conclusion, right? So inferences जो होते हैं, conclusion एक specific conclusion बहुत ही specific होता है, which is based on all the premise, all the evidences, all the facts. So obviously बहुत ही specific conclusion होगा. Conclusion is always very narrow, very specific, based on the exact data, exact evidences which are given in the premise, which are given in the passage. उसी को अगर थोड़ा सा और generic तरीके से, broader तरीके से हम बात करें, so that sometimes becomes the inferences. So simple यही है मतलब कि inferences are the broader, a generic restatement of the conclusions sometimes. Otherwise, it's anyway like the next logical corollary which you can conclude, which you can draw from the text. Inferences state slow. Okay, all right, just a minute. So inferences, I think it's better now. दूर कर लूं. Okay, all right. Is it okay now? Better? Okay, all right. So see, I think we have got the idea of inferences. What are the inferences, right? So that's the next logical corollary of any टेक्स्ट. टेक्स्ट के बारे में हमें समझ में आया, टेक्स्ट में दो चीजें होती हैं जो कि बहुत ही एक्सप्लिसिट होंगी. एक हमारा प्रेमिस होगा, जो सारे एविडेंसेस, all the proofs, all the data, all the support which the author has given in order to establish the conclusion. And the next part is conclusion. These both are the visible parts, these both are the explicit part. There is a third part of the text, that is assumption, which is not explicit. वो explicit नहीं होता, लेकिन that is also the part of the text. मतलब assumption हमेशा author चूंकि while writing the passage, author has made the assumption, which we have to peep into the author's mind while reading the text. Text पढ़ के हमें author के mind में झांकना होता है. That's how we get it. That's how we deduce it. That is how we actually establish it. और एक चीज और हमें पता है, premise plus assumption is equal to conclusion. तो जो भी assumption होगा वो हमेशा conclusion की तरफ lead करना चाहिए, उसको contradict नहीं करना चाहिए, क्योंकि हमेशा जो author का assumption होगा उस text से related, that will be in line with the conclusion. That is the reason we call it premise plus assumption is equal to conclusion. तो इतनी बातें हमें पता है, तो उसी लाइन पे हम बातें कर रहे होंगे आगे. तो क्योंकि assumption की बात भी बार बार आएगा, reference inference का भी हो सकता है, conclusion की भी बात भी आ सकती है, crux and all that, it will keep coming. So I'll keep anyway describing in between, make you recall. Now, so which one of the following statements best reflects the most critical inference that can be made from the passage given above? The first option is hydropower plants cannot fulfill India's energy demands. Right, the first one. Second one, dams are not environment friendly. Third one, renewable energy sources have potential to meet India's energy needs. And the last one is, protecting the environment and society should be a matter of preeminence for the government. Now, So if we see all these 4 options, see the first one, hydropower plants cannot fulfill India's energy demands. That is an extreme one, cannot. इतना भी clear sense में कहीं पे बात नहीं हुई है, extreme sense में, right? Cannot fulfill. They're talking about the shift because of the, various concerns. But, this cannot be anyway, the inference. Next, dams are not environment friendly. It's an opinion. It cannot be an inference. Renewable energy sources have potential to meet India's energy needs. I mean, that have potential or not, that is not even the point of discussion. Why the shift is required, that is the point of discussion. So finally, protecting the environment and society. Because the last, when we see the conclusion, it talks about that we need to create that balance, right, in our energy needs and at the same time, needs of the community and environment. So there has to be a balance, and that is what it talks about. So protecting the environment and society should be the matter of preeminence for the government. So that's what you do the elimination, then also you'll reach this as an inference. So let's move to the next question, next passage. I hope you got that. It's clear to everybody. अगले पे move करते हैं. Next, the study of dark matter continues to be one of the most challenging problems in modern astrophysics. Despite extensive efforts to detect and measure this mysterious substance, its nature and properties remain largely unknown. The prevailing hypothesis is that dark matter is composed of weakly interactive massive particles, WIMPs, which do not interact with light or other forms of electromagnetic radiation. However, the search for WIMPs has so far yielded no conclusive evidence, and other theories have been proposed to explain the gravitational effects that have been observed. Recent simulations have suggested that dark matter may be more complex than previously thought, with multiple components that interact with each other in subtle ways. This could help to explain some of the discrepancies between observed data and theoretical models, and may provide new avenues for experimental exploration. That's the passage. It talks about the dark matters. You must have got an idea, right? How this is very complex, how this studies has been, the avenues has been changing, and it's not conclusive. So this is what has been discussed in the whole passage. So you've got the, I think, gist of the passage, everybody. And it also talks about what are the recent developments in studying the dark matters. So the next paragraph talks about the recent developments, and first paragraph discusses the nature of dark matters, what has been known till now, and what are the complexities, how it is complex, how things are not known. This is what has been discussed in the first paragraph of the passage. Second paragraph talks about the recent simulation has suggested that the dark matter may have more complex than previously thought. So all those recent things has been discussed here. So I hope you got the idea, because it's the purpose is not to explain it, just have a glimpse while we are discussing the solution. So I think वैसे भी आसानी से बैठ के जब हम पढ़ते हैं, you all understand the passages and even answers, everything. It's just that, in exam pressure, sometimes you miss the things. Otherwise, most of the times you'll be able to get it, because the passages are smaller, so it's easy to understand if it is small. If it is lengthier or bigger, so it becomes more, difficult. So anyway, coming back to the question, which one of the following statements best reflects the central idea, the main point of the passage given above? So we all know what are the main point. So in every passage, there is a main theme, main point of the text, of the piece of writing. And everything else is just the supporting detail, a supporting idea, which supports, which actually leads towards that main idea. Everything establishes the main idea, main theme. This is what happens in every piece of writing, every passage, we know that, right? So, इतना हमें समझ में आया, तो central idea पे हम बात करते हैं. Which one could be the central idea, depending on our passage? It's difficult to decipher the nature and the properties of dark matter. It's difficult to decipher the nature and properties of dark matter. That is the first option. Second option is, nature of dark matter remains a mystery. Third is, probing a WIMPs has led to ambiguous manifestations. Simulations provide new avenues for experimental explorations. If you see all these 4 options, the whole of paragraph the discussion was around the dark matter and its complexities. How much do we understand? What has been, what is known yet, and what is not known, and what are the recent developments and the recent simulation and other methods actually talks about it. What actually that tells us about the dark matter. How, this is what the whole passage talks about, right? So if we see, it's difficult to decipher the nature and properties of dark matter. That was quite a statement in the beginning. But if you see the complete passage, nature of dark matter remains a mystery. Even still, even the recent developments, the recent, see the last paragraph, recent simulation have suggested that the dark matter may be more complex than previously thought. Even this mentions, the first part of the passage mentions that it is complex. And here, even the recent, recent methods, the recent efforts to, understand, to study dark matters tells even that it might be more complex. This is what clearly said, with multiple components that interacts with each other in subtle ways. This could help to explain some of the discrepancies between the observed data and theoretical models, all those theoretical models which are available, and what is the observation. Right? This can explain some discrepancies and may provide new avenues for experimental explorations. This does not tell anything conclusively that it has been now known and properly understood. This is what has not been said. It actually gives some other aspect of it. So study still continues. It still remains complex, right? So that is what the crux of it. The first paragraph also talks about its complexities. There are many things which are not known, and even the second part of the paragraph talks about that it requires further studies and further exploration. So B, so nature of the dark matter remains a mystery. Probing of WM has led to ambiguous manifestations. That is one fact which was mentioned. So that cannot be the central idea. Simulation provide new avenues for the experimental exploration. That is another fact, which actually leads towards the main point. And the main point is nature of dark matter remains a mystery. It still remains a mystery. So finally, I think you convinced, and you get this is the main point, and everything else might be mentioned in the text, but that all leads, that is all actually the supporting detail. That is all the supporting data, which actually leads towards this, which is the central theme, which is the central point, that the nature of dark matter remains mystery still, right? I hope you got the idea here. Now, next passage. The medieval period in Europe was a time of significant transformation and development. So this passage talks about the medieval period, and it's being very significant transformation and development. So let's talk about further what passage says. The period saw the decline of Western Roman Empire and feudalism emerged as the dominant economic, social, political system, which was characterized by the hierarchical system of land ownership and control. At the top of this hierarchy were the lords or nobles, who held vast estates and exercised significant political power over their vassals and serfs. The feudal system was accompanied by a complex web of social customs and traditions that regulated the behavior of different classes of people. The nobility were expected to behave with honor and chivalry, while the common people were expected to be obedient and deferential. The Catholic Church was also played a significant role in shaping the medieval society, with the Pope acting as both a spiritual and temporal authority. Spiritual, the spiritual side, and temporal, the physical, worldly size, world affairs. Now, the church maintained a vast network of monasteries and religious orders, which were often the only sources of education and healthcare in medieval Europe. So this passage talks about how the medieval period in Europe was of the significant transition and transformation and development. This is what the author is trying to explain and elaborate on, right? So the first statement is actually talks about what is being explained and what is being discussed in whole of the passage, right? And there again, even the Catholic Church has also played a significant role in establishing that the significant transformation, the importance transformation and development. So what are the significant transformations that has been elaborated upon in the whole passage? So how actually there was a decline of Western Roman Empire and the emergence of feudalism, what was the nature of feudalism, how the feudalism actually, this is kind of a decentralization where the the Western Roman Empire has what was more centralized here. What happened? There were the serfdoms, small power centers emerged in like a feudal society, and how they were serving, and what was the nature, and what was their role, and what all they controlled in the society. That is all being discussed, right? And in a way, it's being discussed that how the complete change, the complete transformation was significant in the medieval time, right? What was the role of these feudals? What is the role of common people? And what was the role of church? This is all has been discussed in whole passage. Now let's see the question. You must have got the idea. Based on the above passage, following assumptions have been made. Assumptions, as you know, we all know assumptions. हमेशा अभी थोड़ी देर पहले हमने बात की कि assumptions वही है जो हमारे conclusion को support करते हैं. वो conclusion के against नहीं जाने चाहिए. ज़्यादातर बार assumptions जो हैं वो explicit नहीं होते. They are not explicit most of the time. They might be external statements, right? Assumptions में भी बहुत सारी बातें होती हैं. You know that. Sufficient assumption and all that. So we'll anyway, when we see in the class, we discuss about that all. So, लेकिन एक मोटा ये है कि assumptions, इसीलिए हम कहते हैं premise plus assumption is equal to conclusion. Assumptions, most of the time, they are not explicit. They are implicit. One thing. Second point is actually, they are the external statements which actually suppose the author's arguments and author's conclusion. So that is the assumption. इतना हमें समझ में आया. वो एक तरह से stated नहीं होता, अनस्टेटेड होता है, लेकिन हम ऑथर के माइंड को पढ़ सकते हैं. वी कैन डिड्यूस आफ्टर रीडिंग द टेक्स्ट कि हाँ ये अजम्पशन हो सकता है इन दैट कॉन्टेक्स्ट. दिस इज हाउ इट गोज. एनीवे, लेट्स सी द क्वेश्चन. ये मुझे काफी डायरेक्ट लग रहा है. तो नाउ एनीवे, ऑप्शंस. प्रोप्राइटरशिप ऑफ लैंड डिसाइडेड द सोशल स्ट्रैटम. Proprietorship, the ownership of land in the feudal society. So this is what is being discussed. The Roman Empire declined and the feudal society emerged. And what was the nature of that feudal society? That was explained in the passage. In that context, these options are given. Now, so proprietorship of land decided the social stratum. Monasteries were the only source of education and healthcare. It was mentioned in the end. The Catholic Church and monastery has a lot of monasteries, and they were the only source of education and healthcare. But if you go back, often only source. So more or less only source, but it's not excluding completely the other options. There might have been insignificant other options as well, but otherwise majority were these monasteries only source of education and healthcare. So this also goes little extreme side. But anyway, let's see the other options. The economic and political systems other than feudalism were trivial in medieval Europe. So the economic and political systems, majority was the actually feudal kind of things. So other than feudal, it was very insignificant. That is what is being said. So in a way, it was an opinion there in the passage. Feudalism kept a tab on demeanor of people. They were actually how they'll behave, how they'll conduct in the social context. That is also was controlled by the feudal society. So that's what is being said here now. So if we see from our passage, what we recall from the passage, the first, obviously, kind of feudal society was all about, the ownership of controlling the land and ownership and things. So first goes correct. Second one is little on the extreme side, so you can exclude that. Third one, the economic and political system other than feudalism were trivial. I mean, that's true, because it was a feudalistic society, and feudal society was more or less based on the ownership of land and other properties, right? Next, and feudalism kept a tab on the demeanor of people, actually how the people will behave. That was also in a way controlled. So if we see, all these three are correct. So that is the reason you're left with the options C, 1, 3, and 4. Because 2 was little on the extreme side, so you have to, extreme options वैसे भी, the moment you see the extreme options, you have to be wary of that. Be careful on that, right? So that's it, right? Here actually the assumptions could have been better, but it's kind of a direct, but still that's easy for you anyway, right? Let's go for the next. Now, so next question, passage. The Aryan invasion theory is a contentious topic in Indian history. That's how the passage starts. The theory suggests that the Aryans, a group of nomadic warriors, migrated to India from Central Asia around 1500 BCE and conquered the indigenous Dravidian population. They brought their language, Sanskrit, and established a new social hierarchy based on caste. However, this theory has been challenged by some scholars due to a lack of archaeological and genetic evidence. Alternative theories propose that the Aryans may have migrated to India peacefully and gradually assimilated with the indigenous people, leading to the development of Hinduism and other aspects of Indian culture. Some scholars argue that the Aryan invasion theory was a colonial construct aimed at justifying British rule over India. So you see, the whole passage talks about the Aryan invasion theory. How there are two theories on that, and third actually completely negates it. So that's how this gets concluded. पूरे passage में Aryan invasion theory के बारे में बात हुई. Two theories are mentioned about it. One talks about conquering and that kind of conquest, and the second theory talks about the peaceful assimilation, and third completely negates it. And this is what is being discussed in the passage. So in that context, let's talk about the question. Now, which one of the following statements best reflects the crux of the passage given above? Now the crux, again the main point, crux. The Aryan invasion theory is deep rooted in the Indian history. So again, this was far-fetched, you see, the way it was discussed in the passage. And anyway, we have to limit ourselves to the passage only. The Aryan invasion theory has been challenged due to a lack of evidence. This was quite there, very clearly. But again, let's read other options. The Aryan invasion theory was a colonial construct. That was also mentioned in the end. The Hinduism, Sanskrit, and caste-based hierarchy are legacy of Aryans. In a way, in one theory, this is also mentioned. Anyway, but if you talk about the complete discussion in the passage, the complete discussion is somewhere which is discussing actually its veracity. But it's not, because it has been challenged on various things, right? And finally, it has been, so there are no evidence actually to support it. That is what the complete discussion is all about, right? There are different theories around it, right? So there is one construct around this theory. I mean, some theories even negates it completely. Some talks about peaceful assimilation. Some talks about conquest. I mean, there are so many things, but there is no backing. I mean, any theory is not backed with the evidences. That is the bigger problem. So that is the main issue. That is the main theory, the main theme, that is the crux. So the B becomes the broader crux of our passage, the text which is given. Utri tak hame limit rakhna hai. Now let's move to the next passage. The boundaries of the human experience are constantly being challenged and redefined. The boundaries of the human experience are constantly being challenged and redefined as new technologies allow us to explore the furthest reaches of our universe and the inner workings of our minds. Yet, even as we push the limits of what we can do and understand, we must remain mindful of consequences of our actions. From the ecological impact of our industrialized societies to the ethical implications of genetic engineering, we must grapple with the complexities of the world that is both wondrous and perilous. In the face of such challenges, it is easy to feel overwhelmed and disheartened, but we must remember that we are not alone in our struggle. Across time and space, countless generations have faced similar trials and tribulations, and they have left us with a legacy of wisdom and resilience that we can draw upon today. Whether through the words of great thinkers, the actions of inspiring leaders, or the everyday heroism of the ordinary people, we can find hope and inspiration to guide us through even the darkest of times. Now, see. So the whole passage here again, talks about our human experiences, how that is being challenged and redefined with the new technology and new changes and new explorations happening. And it actually talks about our furthest reaches, our universe, and the inner workings of mind, how both are actually that relationship is being redefined. And also talks about that what we can understand, how we can push the limits of what we can do and understand, and must remain mindful of the consequences of our actions. Little philosophical here in between. And and then talks about all the practical impacts of ecological and industrialized society and the ethical implications of our genetic engineering. We must grapple with the complexities of the world that is both wondrous and perilous and harmful again, In the face of such challenges, it is easy to feel overwhelmed and disheartened. If you come across these challenges, everything, it becomes, it's very easy actually that one gets overwhelmed and one gets, disheartened. But we must remember that again, here author again gives you that hope thing, that learning from the past experiences, that is where author, quotes here. But we must remember that we are not alone in our struggle, because it has been all across the times. Now, across time and space, countless generations have faced similar trials and tribulations. These kind of challenges has been, has been always faced by our past generations. And they have left us with a legacy of wisdom and resilience. We again, stood up. We faced these challenges. We might have, get harmed in that process, but that resilience was there. That we learned the resilience from the past experiences to again get up. And now that we can draw upon today, whether through the words of great thinkers, the actions of inspiring leaders, or the everyday heroism of ordinary people, you can learn from everything, from our past experiences. That is what the author talks about. So little philosophical in between, so you might lose the track, but again, you must have got the idea. Question: which one of the following statements best reflects the critical message conveyed by the passage given above? So which one is actually best reflects the critical message conveyed by the passage? The boundaries of human experience are constantly being challenged. One statement. We can find hope and inspiration in the wisdom and resilience of our ascendants. Past experiences. It has been very elaborately discussed in the last part of the paragraph. The challenges we face can be overwhelming, but we are not alone. They might be overwhelming and disheartening, it was mentioned, but you're not alone. It has always been there. The people actually, faced it and showed the resilience, have shown the resilience. Now, so we must remain mindful of the consequences of our actions. That is also one statement. But here, the most critical message, so we can find hope and inspiration in the wisdom and resilience of our ascendants. That is the most critical message. In the face of all these challenges which we are faced with, we must keep, keep our resilience strong, keep ourselves strong, learning from the past experiences. So that's what the most critical message. So B comes. There are other statements which you find in the passage, in the text, but that could be a supporting detail which will be leading towards that main point. But this is the most critical message actually. We can find hope and inspiration in the wisdom and resilience of our ascendants. I mean, how that has been always, the challenges has always been there, but they faced it bravely, right? And came up with a lot of resilience. Now, so that's the best anyway. Once we got the context of the passage, we'll be able to eliminate, right? Most critical message draw करना है. कुछ चीजें हैं जो directly passage में मिल रही हैं, लेकिन वो most critical message नहीं है, right? हो सकता है वो एक fact हो, एक supporting detail हो, जो main point या main crux की तरफ lead कर रहा हो. This is what it is. Next, अगला passage है, as the world continues to grapple with the devastating effects of climate change, there is a growing sense of urgency to find sustainable solutions to our energy needs. While some governments have made commitments to transition away from fossil fuels and invest in renewable energy sources, progress has been slow and uneven. Additionally, there is a lack of political will to take the bold action necessary to address the root cause of climate change. The consequences of inaction are dire: rising sea levels, more frequent natural disasters, and widespread environmental degradation. The time for half-measure and incremental change is over. Decisive actions are needed to mitigate the effects of climate change. A sustainable future for our children is the responsibility of the present generations. Right? So, passage is all about the devastating effects of climate change. How we are doing very little. We are not doing sufficient. We are not doing enough. Actually, all our actions, which are very urgent, but we're not taking that urgent actions. There is no political will. There is no, there are, and if left untreated, if left, unattended, there are consequences, disastrous consequences, which is being pointed out by the author one by one, even specifically mentioned in between here, in the second part of the paragraph. And then talks about how the actions are actually, decisive actions are most urgently needed to mitigate, to reduce the effects of climate change. The sustainable future of our children is the responsibility of this present generation. So these actions must be taken immediately. So that's how the passage gets concluded. So it's an easy passage anyway. You must have got the crux and understood. Question dekhte hain. Which one of the following statements best reflects the most critical message conveyed by the passage given above? So the first option, climate change is a complex issue with no clear solutions. The author did not say that. Governments need to make bolder commitments to address climate change. Yes, author actually made this point very clearly, right, in between the paragraph, how this is urgent, how the government is actually lacking that political will, and that, the strong steps which are actually urgently required, that is not being taken. The consequences of inaction of climate change are severe and far-reaching. That is also mentioned. But if you talk about the most critical message, that's a B, because that is how it got concluded even, right? The decisive actions has to be taken. The future of the, the safety of the future generations is in the hand of the present generation, and so many things has been mentioned to actually establish that. Next, D, renewable energy sources are the solution to mitigate the effects of climate change. That is also mentioned. But the point is, the most critical message is B, right? So that's where we reach. I hope you all agree now. You'll be able to do the elimination. Then also you get the most prevalent idea, the most prevalent message is this one, the B, which has been established in the passage. Now, next. The fisheries industry in India is facing significant challenges due to overfishing, environmental degradation, and inadequate government policies. India is the world's second largest fish producing country, and the sector employs millions of people. However, the industry is plagued by illegal fishing, lack of regulation, and the poor infrastructure. The rampant use of destructive fishing techniques has depleted the fish stocks, leading to a decline in catches and a rise in prices. The lack of proper infrastructure for storage and transportation has resulted in the significant losses of fishermen, and the absence of government support has worsened the situation. Climate change has brought about unpredictable weather patterns, leading to further declines in catches. The huge upsurge in the prices of fish stock has been observed due to the wastage during the movement from sea to plate. Addressing these challenges will require coordinated efforts by the government, industry stakeholders, and the fishing community. It is crucial to develop sustainable fishing practices, invest in infrastructure, and enforce regulations to protect the livelihoods of millions of people who depend on the fisheries industry. Now, so the whole passage talks about the fisheries industries and all those challenges faced by this sector. And in that process also, author also tries to highlight this economic significance and its employment significance. So how the people-centric significance are very high, right? That is what the whole passage is all about, right? And what all is actually causing these challenges in the fisheries sector. That is also very clearly has been pointed out, right? So now, once you've got the idea, so let's see the question. On the basis of the passage given above, following assumptions have been made. You all know what are the assumptions? So let's read the options. The fisheries industry in India is a significant contributor to the country's economy. The fisheries industry in India is a significant contributor to the country's economy. In many ways, it has been pointed out, but again, let's see the other options. Efficient means of transportation keeps a check on prices of the fish stock. That also has been pointed out, that it's being caused due to how it's being brought. Climate change, see here. Yes, this. So a huge upsurge in the prices of fish stock has been observed due to the wastage during the movement from sea to plate. So that has been specifically brought out. Now next, the fisheries industry in India is a sustainable source of livelihood for millions of people, right? So which of the following assumption is valid? Now, so see now, when this is something, it's in the process mentioned, but if you talk about the assumption, which goes with our conclusion, the fisheries industry in India is a significant contributor to the country's economy. That's more larger, right? And efficient means of transportation keeps the check off on the prices of the fish stocks. See, if you talk about which one is the best assumption, the first is obviously goes with the author's line. Second one, if you extend a little bit, second also could be the assumption. So that is the reason, because first only was not the option. So obviously you'll go for A. So 2 is quite near the assumption. First is obviously that's the assumption that's supporting the author's all the arguments. It's going with the author's arguments and conclusions. The first one is assumption, and first and 2, that's only the option A. So you go for the A one, because 2 is only not the option, 3 is not there. So in 2 options, you have 3. So anyway, when you do the assumption and inference questions, eliminations comes handy. That's very helpful. So you just have to keep working with the options. That will be easier, to reach the answer quickly. So in this, option A is the correct one. Next, अगला passage देखते हैं. The world of work has evolved significantly over the past few decades. World of work has evolved significantly over the past few decades. With a growing emphasis on remote work and flexible working arrangements, while some people thrive in this environment, others struggle to adapt to the lack of structure and face-to-face interaction. There is a lack of structure, there is a face-to-face, lack of face-to-face interactions. So there are others who actually struggle. However, the recent studies suggest that the remote work is here to stay, and businesses must adapt to this new reality. Employers need to prioritize communication and collaboration tools to ensure that remote workers are not isolated and have the necessary resources to perform their job effectively. Moreover, remote workers need to have self-discipline and time management skills to stay productive and avoid burnout. Ultimately, the success of remote work depends on finding the right balance between the autonomy and support. I hope you got the idea. So the whole passage talks about the new changes in the work segment, how the things are actually changing in the professional arena, in the work arena, right? How with the introduction of remote working, how there are other fundamental and infrastructural things are required. I mean, support are required. That is what author is actually trying to point out. How the people need support, how the employers need to come into the picture, and they have to take that extra mile and those extra efforts to make this transition a smooth one. That is where the author is making his point, and all kinds of collaboration, and where the workers themselves, the employees themselves also have to take many steps to create that balance, right? So time management and self-discipline and so many things. So this is how it has been concluded. So the whole passage is actually around the new changes, the remote work being introduced in the working in the offices, in contrast working in the offices. Now, what is the most logical assumption that can be made from the passage given above? फिर assumption की बात कर रहे हैं. The passage given above, which of these could be the most logical assumption? Let's see. Remote work is beneficial for employees. Pehla. Second one is in-person connection is the need of the remote employees. A disciplined life is a prerequisite for being productive. Communication is more important for remote workers than for office workers. So let's see all the options now. We do the elimination. So remote work is beneficial for employees. It's not being discussed. I mean, what are the benefits of remote work for employees? It's broader. The complete culture is being discussed, right? So that goes off. Next, in-person connection. In-person connection is the need of the remote employees. That's not very, emphasized. That is one of the aspects which has been mentioned, but that is the need of the remote employees. But there is a balance required, and where the employers has been encouraged to bring that kind of, things, that kind of changes. But that's not the only thing which is the most logical assumption. A disciplined life is a prerequisite for being productive. It has been specifically said, and somewhere that has been drawn with other, other points, as well. So that is one of the broader thing. That's how it has been even concluded. Let's see the other D option. Communication is more important for remote workers than the office workers. This has not been compared anywhere, so that also goes off. So finally, you're left with C, which is the most logical assumption in this context. I hope everybody got the answer. Let's move next to the next. The next passage. Let's have an idea. So the Vedic era in ancient India was characterized by an intricate interplay of religious, linguistics, and social factors, the effects of which were to reverberate throughout the subsequent development of Indian culture. The Vedic texts, comprising a vast corpus of hymns, rituals, and commentaries, bear witness to the emergence of the complex pantheon of deities whose attributes and functions were deeply embedded in the socio-economic structures of the time. The priestly class, whose monopoly on religious knowledge and practice was buttressed by the ritualistic and ascetic practices prescribed in the Vedas, exercised a hegemonic influence over the other varnas of social classes. The Sanskrit language, which served as the medium of transmission for the Vedic texts, became a symbol of prestige and cultural identity and contributed significantly to the development of a literary and intellectual tradition that endures to this day. So this one, the whole passage, talks about the Vedic era, how the Vedic era has these some significant aspects to it, the religious, linguistic, and social factors which will actually critically interacted with each other in that process and formed a kind of society as it was. Right? I hope that you're getting my point. And that has been all the aspects of that society has been discussed, and all the aspects of these interplay, the religious, linguistics, and social factors, how that interplay worked and actually helped in shaping the kind of society as it was. That's what being discussed here, and how here some priestly class has this predominance, and due to what reasons, what was that, all the hegemonic influence. I mean, what was the causes? What were the reasons? How they have the better position in that? I mean, and others did not get the benefit of it. It did not reach. I mean, it became the hegemonic complete the position of theirs. That is what is being discussed. And finally, how these texts actually became the prestige and cultural identity kind of things, and contributed significantly to the development of literary and intellectual tradition, which actually created a barrier or created a divide, right? And endures this day. That's how it has been discussed, the complete passage. So you must have got an idea of the passage now after discussion. So let's see the question. With reference to the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. First, rituals helped the priestly class in maintaining its dominance, and Vedic texts were widely acknowledged. See, there are many questions based on assumptions, and all the questions where the direct options are given. See, most of the time what will happen, the options which will be given in the assumption questions might not be directly from the passage. Most of the time they will not be. They won't be from the passage directly. They will be an external statement. So in these questions, it's easier actually, just because the passage, text or the lines are picked mostly from the text, mostly from the passages in the assumption questions. So this becomes easier. But otherwise, if you have seen the previous year questions, you must be aware that in most of the assumption questions, you'll see an external statement. So you have to check which one of those external statements goes, gels well with the author's argument, right? So in these questions anyway, most of these statements are actually directly, so it's easy to find them out. Anyway, so rituals help the priestly class in the maintaining its dominance, and that's the reason, direct statement passes say mostly nahi milta assumption questions mein, right? It's more, complex. That's the reason to find out the assumption. Now, anyway, Vedic texts were widely acknowledged in all social classes and regions of the ancient India. Which of the above assumptions are valid? So it's only one, widely acknowledged in all social classes. This is not even the point of discussion, right? So the first one is only which matches with the broader, context of the passage. The rituals help the priestly class in maintaining its a dominance. So that's how it is, right? So very easy because it's very direct. So most of the time, as I told you, the assumption questions, the statements which will be given in the assumption questions, that will be external statements. See, it will be a task actually for you to check which one goes well with the author's arguments in the passage. So that becomes little challenging, right? But here it's very easy because it's a direct one. Next, socialization. Agla passage dekhte hain. Socialization is the process by which human infants begin to acquire the skills necessary to perform as members of their society, and is thus the means by which social order is perpetuated. The institutionalization of social structures and norms creates a taken for granted world that is experienced as objective reality, despite its purely subjective origins. The cognitive and normative structures, mental and all, and that make up this world are embedded in everyday experiences and become naturalized through routine interactions and practices. However, this process of objectification is not complete or permanent, as the social world is subject to continual negotiations. The social world is continual negotiations and interpretations through the ongoing production and reproduction of social reality. Individuals and groups can exercise agency, come together, agency, and shape the social structures and processes that govern their lives. So this is also discussing about the socialization, how it actually gets acquired by the human infants through this, society, through the, how it gets perpetuated, how it gets continued. And then the author actually elaborates on that, how it gets institutionalized, accepted in the complete social institution and social structure and norms, and it is taken as if, taken for granted. But that experienced as objective, people experience it as an objective reality, which is very much subjective or based on subjectivity. That's what the author talks about here. And the whole passage is actually around the same. How it is dependent, how it is acquired, how it is learned, if it is cognitive or normative, all those differences has been discussed. And finally, even in the later part of the passage, however, this process of objectification is not complete or permanent, as the social world is subject to continual negotiations and interpretations. Whatever is learned there, that is not permanent. Even that gets, again, that's very much vulnerable to a lot of adjustments. As it is being said here, that complete or permanent, as the social world is subject to continual negotiations and interpretations. Though through the ongoing production and reproduction of social reality, individuals and the groups can exercise agency and shape the social structures and processes that govern their lives. So it keeps, anyway, the adaptation process keeps going on due to these interactions. Thus, it has been contrasted from the other learnings, how it gets acquired. So, passage, you got the idea. See the options and question. Which one of the following statements best reflects the crux of the passage given above? Again, main point, crux. Individuals' experiences and their perception of reality are shaped through socialization, which helps to maintain social order. First option, very clearly mentioned. Let's see the next. Objective reality is important in any functional society. No, objective reality was mentioned in some other context. Not like this, that is important for functioning society. The process of objectification of reality of the social world is permanent. Even the opposite was mentioned. Individuals and groups do not have agency. They do have agency. It was mentioned in the end. So these both goes opposite. So ऐसे में eliminated C and D. दोनों opposite जा रहे हैं हमारे passage के. You just eliminate that. B, again, it's not even related to our context. It's out of context. So all three gets eliminated. You're left with one, and that is very much matches with our context. That individual experiences and their perception of reality are shaped through socialization, which helps to maintain social order. So that goes very much with our context, with our discussion in the passage, and that is the main crux. Very easy after elimination, right? Let's move to the next. The very success of antibiotics has given rise to a particular set of challenges. Let's talk about challenges that's being discussed in the passage. Ranging from the emergence of antibiotic resistance to the development of new antibiotics that can overcome the limitations of the current therapies. These are the two things. The challenges की बात करें तो that the antibiotic resistance is being developed. There is a resistance. You must have heard about it, right? Misuse of antibiotics. And the next one is actually development of new antibiotics that can overcome the limitations of the current therapies. So these are some challenges which has been specifically mentioned, right? So this very success of antibiotics has given rise to the particular set of challenges, and these are the two specific ones. These challenges are not simply technical or scientific in nature, but are intimately tied to the social and economic conditions that surround the production, distribution, and use of antibiotics. See, very, very clearly, it has been mentioned, threadbare, in a clear manner, that these challenges are not simply technical or scientific in nature, but are intimately. See, it's not just the, a very technical and scientific process which is going on just because of, but there is other aspect of why actually even this process is taken up. There are some other reasons, other influencing factors. Now see, in the nature, but are intimately tied up with the social and economic conditions that surround the production. Why the production is being done, right? So these are some social and economic conditions that surround the production, distribution, and use of antibiotics. Everything is actually interlinked, intertwined. Now, antibiotics use has become enmeshed in complex networks of power and influence that shape the way in which the antibiotics are discovered, tested, and marketed, and prescribed. So it's a very, see, the medical field, if you have been reading about the medical field, we all have been very much exposed and made aware of the complexities and the businesses and economic aspects of the medical discoveries and medical medicines, medicines and other, healthcare system. How the economic considerations are actually very much intertwined into it. After this pandemic, we all learnt it in some other way. We have been exposed to this relationship, this very unethical relationship. So we are very much aware. In that context, this is being discussed, right? The similar kind of things. Because antibiotics as a medicine, if you see, it's a very, very large scale it is used. So that is where how the production and even the distribution and everything gets affected, and it has some other aspect to it, economic and social. That is what is being brought out. That is what is being discussed here. Economic and social conditions that surround the production, distribution, and use of antibiotics. Antibiotic use has become enmeshed in the complex networks of power and influence. बहुत ही मिक्स्ड है, कैसे पूरा जो नेटवर्क है पूरा पावर एंड इन्फ्लुएंस का, किस तरह से that shape the ways in which the antibiotics are discovered. Why some specific antibiotics are discovered, how the discoveries are, how the technologies and things are being employed into it. That all has the economic considerations and social considerations. So influence that shape the ways in which the antibiotics are discovered, tested, and marketed and prescribed. Moreover, the use of antibiotics is often embedded within the larger system of health care delivery. Moreover, the use of antibiotics is often embedded within the larger systems of healthcare delivery, where issues of access, equity, and justice can have profound effects on the ability of individuals and the populations to benefit from these powerful drugs. Right? So these are the aspects actually. Issues of access, equity, and justice can have profound effects on the ability of individuals, the populations to benefit from these powerful drugs. So not only these powerfuls, all the, even sometimes the critical drugs, how the power lobby, how things work in this drug arena, that, how this patents and so many things actually has been a lot of controversies around this. And India has been in the center of all these controversies due to generic medicines and things. So you must have read a lot and you must have got this context. In what context the passage talks about the antibiotics and the challenges faced by it and all those, technical aspects, discovery, distribution and everything. And in that context, it also talks about the access, equity and justice, how, of the individual and these populations, how that becomes very critical. Question: which of the following is a critical inference that can be drawn from the passage given above. The emergence of antibiotic resistance is solely due to the technical and scientific limitations of current therapies. This was not mentioned, though it talked about the resistance, but this reason was not mentioned. Next, social and economic conditions do not play a role in the production, distribution, and use of antibiotics. It actually does. So it's opposite what was mentioned in the passage. It actually does. See, antibiotics use is independent of larger system of health and healthcare delivery. No, it is enmeshed into it. So that is also opposite. So see, very clearly, very easily, you can eliminate the options. Next, equity is a determining factor in the ability of populations to benefit from antibiotics. Very clearly mentioned in the end. So this is the only option you're left with even after the elimination. There's no other option left if you talk about the inferences. So this is the one which is left. So you go for D. D is the answer. Let's move to the next passage. Passage number 4. The woman of today is still searching. The woman of today is still searching, still revolted, still being transformed. The woman of tomorrow has yet to emerge, and everything is still possible. Right? This is how this is mentioned. See, beautifully how that has been brought. All the hope. Now, the woman hopes. She's aware that the civilization of her age does not represent the ultimate destiny of humanity. She is aware that her true significance and potential cannot be measured in terms of the current concepts of a woman. She refuses to accept the present as the only form of human life and insists upon a complete revision of the past in order to achieve a true historical perspective. And she is right. And she is right. So how this is being discussed from the women's perspective, how the present limitations should not be the defining factor. There are hope, there are even the redefining of the past as well in order to see the true significant achievements of women. That is where it has been mentioned. It has been the whole passage, 3, 4, 5 sentences has been said here. You must have got an idea. Now let's see the question. Question dekhte hain. What is the most logical assumption that can be made from the passage given above? Women's liberation has only been achieved in certain countries and social contexts. That has not been mentioned. That segregation, never. इस तरह से बात हुई नहीं रही हमारे पैसेज में कि किसी countries, कुछ countries और कुछ societies के context में. This is not being discussed. It's a generic. Next, women's subjugation is the result of inherent biological differences. Not at all. That is not the discussion. Out of context, biological differences की तो कहीं बात ही नहीं हो रही. The woman of tomorrow is not yet defined and has the potential to be anything. Yes, quite true. That has been the point of discussion very prominently. Next, D. Both the present and the future of women looks bleak to us. No, it is not being said anywhere. So finally, you left even with the elimination. You can get very easily the answer, right? C. That's the only you're left with, right? So got the answer, I hope, very easy after doing the elimination. Next, passage number 1 again, I think. The passages are named in the similar fashion as it is there in your text paper. So don't go for the numbers. Now, next. The new Indian elite were children of privilege and products of circumstances. New Indian elite were children of privilege and products of circumstances. Beneficiaries of the worldwide rise of a new managerial class with expertise in administration, marketing, and finance. Got the context? Where this is developing? They were products of the best schools and universities, where they had been taught, for the most part, to see themselves as an agent of social transformation, but as custodians of the status quo. Status quo, no change. Right? They had grown up in a climate of fear, suspicion, and secrecy, where the state was always assumed to be watching and listening, where every private action was deemed a political statement. They were not visionaries and they were not idealists. They were not visionaries and they were not idealists. But they were not without intelligence and they were not without ambition. They did have intelligence, they did have ambition, but they were not idealists and they were not specifically mentioned. What is mentioned there? Not visionaries and not idealists. They did not aim for some ideal status, they did not aim for that. They were actually status quoists. They had grown up in a culture where one's greatest fear was not that of poverty, but that of social ostracism. So the whole passage talks about, the today's successful people, how and where, in what context they actually acquire that, right? And what shaped their, the vision, what shaped their today's economic condition, and so many things. That in that context, the complete passage is being discussed. So, right? So, specifically about the India's elite, right? I mean, how they were the children of privilege and the products of circumstances, beneficiaries of worldwide rise of new managerial class, right? With expertise in all these things, because they studied in the good universities and schools, right? This is how it been, and further it has been explained properly how they were status quoist. They did not aim for idealist position or something. This is all they were how they say they were not the visionaries or idealists. They were intelligent and they were ambitious, but they actually wanted to develop in a very guarded manner. So that's what the passage talks about. In that context, let's see the question. Which of the following best describes the critical inference that can be drawn from the above passage? First option. The new Indian elites were primarily concerned with maintaining their social status. Kind of, right? Next, the new Indian elites were primarily focused on bringing about social change. No, that has been negated even, right? So this is eliminated very easily. Next, the new Indian elites were primarily concerned with alleviating poverty and improving the lives of the less fortunate. Come on, specifically said. They did not. The greatest fear was not that of poverty. So they were not working to alleviate poverty or anything, but that of social ostracism. They were very guarded just because of those conditions, that even any deemed political statement, any private actions were even deemed to be political actions. So they were very guarded, right? And that's how they worked in that political context, in that time. This is how they worked only on their intelligence and ambition and tried to achieve in that guarded environment their personal success, not the social and things. That's what is not being said here. So in that context, if you eliminate all, and you can do very easily, you have done that, and you're left with one option A. The new Indian elites were primarily concerned with maintaining their status, right? Their social status, that's it. They were the status quoists. They did not aim for some bigger transformation and change or something, specifically said. So you got the answer, very easy, direct one again. Next. Agla wala dekhte hain. Next option. Yes. So research in the 1980s and 90s showed that people's affective status are heavily influenced by the degree of cognitive flexibility, mental flexibility, that they bring to the interpretation of their experiences. How they interpret their experiences. Those who have the ability to reframe stressful situations in a more positive light, to perceive them as challenges instead of threats, are more likely to experience positive emotions and less likely to experience negative emotions. Talking about the strength of cognitive flexibility. Now, additionally, the ability to savor and appreciate positive experiences is an important factor. Experience, savor, and appreciate positive experiences is an important factor in overall happiness. Individuals who are able to stay focused on positive experiences for a longer period of time, to fully engage with them and to integrate them into their sense of self, tend to report higher levels of life satisfactions and well-being. So how this actually brings not only the instant happiness, but the larger achievements, that the higher levels of satisfaction, life satisfaction and well-being. So that all, how that is all linked with the cognitive, how that is all linked with the cognitive flexibilities. This is what being discussed in the whole passage. So let's see now the questions. On the basis of passage given above, the following assumptions have been made. There's heavy influence of societal factors on an individual's ability to appreciate experiences. There is heavy influence of societal factors on an individual's ability to appreciate experiences. A person's interpretation can affect his or her emotional state. Which of the above assumptions are valid? Right? Read again. There is heavy influence of societal factors on an individual's ability to appreciate experiences. Has there been any mention of societal factors in our passage? Nowhere, right? It only talks about your cognitive flexibility. A person's interpretations can affect, yes, which is based on the cognitive flexibility, can affect his or her emotional state. This was very specifically has been described and elaborated upon how that actually not only gives instant happiness, but also it has larger, bigger achievements, right? So that's how it is. We can go. You can see the passage. In the end, it says, talks about the higher levels of life satisfaction and even well-being. This all dependent on the cognitive flexibility as they bring to the interpretations of their experiences. And that is where even the happiness is dependent on that, right? So they'll be able to ward off the stressful conditions very easily. So let's see the next passage now. The computerization of society is one of those historical phenomena unique in its scope and significance that require a revision of the most basic assumptions about knowledge, communication, and society. This is how it is. This is in that context. Now, the further elaboration. The computer is the model of this new mode of knowledge production and distribution, which requires a radical change in the way that knowledge is acquired, validated, and circulated. In this era, in this new era, knowledge becomes less a matter of narrative or a single perspective, and more a matter of complex network of data, codes, algorithms that are in constant flux, constant move. The traditional institutions of knowledge production, such as universities and research centers, are being challenged by new forms of knowledge production that are more open, decentralized, and fluid. This new condition of knowledge requires a new kind of thinking, one that is not based on the old models of rationality or logic, but on the recognition of contingency and instability of knowledge itself. Now, so it talks about the computerization of society, how this is a kind of a significant phenomena, a historical phenomena, which is very unique in its scope and significance both. Its scope is very broader and significance, importance is very deeper. That's how it is. That requires revision of most basic assumptions about the knowledge, communication, and society. That all has been transformed greatly. That is how what has been elaborated with the next line. The computer is model of new mode of knowledge production, distribution, which requires radical changes in the way the knowledge is perceived and all that, right? Knowledge becomes less the matter of narrative and single perspective, but more the matter of complex network of data, codes, algorithms and all, and constant flux, which is constantly moving. The traditional institutions of knowledge production, such as universities and research centers, which has been the traditional centers of knowledge production, are being challenged by the new forms of knowledge production that are more open, decentralized, and fluid. It's everywhere, very, very open, available to all, very easily accessible, and decentralized. It's not controlled by a few. It's actually available to all, so decentralized and fluid. This new condition of knowledge requires a new kind of thinking, one that is not based on the old models of rationality and logic, but on the recognition of the contingency and the instability of knowledge itself. So it's all about how the computerization has changed the complete notion around the knowledge and its distribution, and how it's acquired, how it's validated, and how it's circulated and distributed, how everything got changed in that context. Which one of the following statements best reflects the crux of the passage given above? Main point again. The computerization of society has led to a decline in the importance of knowledge. Nowhere mentioned. It's not mentioned that it actually led to the decline of the importance of knowledge, immediately eliminated. Next option. The computerization of society had little impact on the way the knowledge is checked. No, it has greater impact. Computerization has been mentioned. That also got eliminated. The computerization of society has led to a greater emphasis on rationality and logic. No, lessened. See, in the end, it's saying that specifically, one that is based on the old models of rationality and logic. The new conditions of knowledge requires a new kind of thinking. One that is based on this rationality and knowledge, but on the, not that one, but the, which is based on the recognition of contingency and instability of the knowledge itself. That is also negated. So all three got negated, all three got eliminated based on the passage only. So very direct. Now D, the computerization of society has led to a new mode of knowledge production, which requires new mindsets. New mode of knowledge production has been said that modern production, how it is acquired and how it's circulated, that all has been caused by the computerization of society, which requires new mindset completely. In the end, that has been established. So you're left with D option only, which is the main crux. Next. So next passage talks about Greek myth. Okay. So Greek myth was originally a religious mystery drama representing the victory of young, civilized Olympian gods over the old, anarchic, chthonic something, titans. For the Greeks, it was a true record of their remote past. Greeks believed that it was the true record of their remote past, which had been brought to light through revelation. But Greek poets, particularly Hesiod and Alexandrian scholars, rationalized and sometimes allegorized the myths, reducing them to absurdity by explaining them as historical incidents and personifications of the natural phenomena. That's what these poets has done, and these Alexandrian scholars. Although this made the myths more interesting, to the rational mind, it took away their real significance. The real importance was actually taken away. So that the tales of Zeus and his relationships with his nearest female kin and of other Olympians who committed atrocities as bad as those of their vanquished predecessors became mere sensational stories of scandal and folk tales for children. That's where it has been reduced to after this redefinition by these poets. I hope that makes sense, all those myths which were regarded very important earlier. So how that transformation took place, just after the description by these writers and these scholars, this is what is being discussed about those myths, Greek myths. So in that context, let's see the question, idea. We've got the idea anyway. What is the most logical assumption that can be made from the passage given above? पढ़ लिया हमने, assumption भी हमें मालूम है. Options देखते हैं. Let's see the options. The Greek myths were originally intended to be taken as literal historical accounts. The Greek myths were originally intended to be taken as literal historical accounts. See, they're not talking about in that sense. They're saying earlier it was taken as the mystery drama representing the victory of young civilized Olympian gods over the old anarchic titans. That's what is being said. So that does not fit in the context how it is being discussed. Let's see the B. The rationalization of Greek myths, which was done by these scholars and poets, by poets and scholars, diminished their original religious significance. Yes, actually, that became some stories later on. Amusing stories, entertaining stories. That's how they were reduced to after the rationalization. So this is very near. The complete picture is being described in this. See, the Greek myths were primarily intended to be entertaining stories for children. No, primarily they were intended to be something else. But finally they actually reduced to this. After the description, after the redescription after the rationalization by these poets and scholars. So this is opposite, that also gets eliminated. D, the Greek myths were primarily intended to explain natural phenomena. No, later it was done. So that also got eliminated. So you see the A, B, C, D got eliminated, you're left with B only, right? Elimination is working very fine because these are the questions are direct ones. Most of the options are direct. So here the elimination is working fine. Next, Agla. Let's see the next one. Yes. Slavery in America is a dark and complex chapter in the nation's history. Right? Slavery is a dark and complex chapter in the nation's history. The forced migration and enslavement of millions of Africans was a pivotal factor in the development of the United States as a global economic power. That was one of the pivotal factor. The enslavement of millions and migration of theirs to America was greater factor in the economic development. Their global economic becoming, in the process of becoming the global economic power. Slavery was not only a system of brutal exploitation, but also a deeply ingrained social institution that shaped American culture and politics for centuries. Slave labor was backbone of the American economy, with cotton and tobacco being two of the most important crops produced by enslaved labor. Enslaved Africans resisted their captivity through various means, including running away, sabotage, and rebellion. The abolitionists movement gained momentum in the 19th century, fueled by the moral outrage of many Americans and the growing realization that the slavery was incompatible with the nation's founding principles. Right? So slavery is being discussed, starting from all those migration and enslavement, how that actually helped in shaping the American economic development, and how it was brutal, the exploitation, how it was actually very much ingrained in the society and culture, how it became very much ingrained and very much part of the economic life, as two most important crops were very much dependent on them, to the realization and their trying to escape from these atrocities through various means, and finally the realization, and even some of the Americans in the society, that this is against even the American principle and all, so founding principles. That is how it has been, the complete transition has been discussed around slavery. So we got the context. Now let's see the question. Which one of the following statements best sums up the passage given above? Which one best sums up? Again, the crux. First, slavery was a system of brutal exploitation and social institution of America. It is mentioned, but that is not explaining everything. Slavery in America was challenged by the abolitionist movement time and again. It was, but again, it doesn't give the complete picture. Moral outrage of many Americans overpowered the economic needs of America in 19th century. No, that goes against. D. Slavery was a component of America that determined the country's culture, economy, and politics for centuries. Actually, it was so ingrained that many things were dependent on that, and that is how it was intertwined in the society, culture, and economy all, right, and the politics for slavery. So this gives the complete picture of the passage, right, the complete crux of the passage, sums of the passage. D. So most near, first and A and B also you see here and there mentioned, but that does not give the complete picture. That is one side, one aspect of it, one opinion only. So D is the best option, which gives the complete picture and which sums up, which is the main point. Got the answer, I hope? You all agree? Let's move further. Next passage. Decolonization post-World War II. Decolonization post-World War II was a complex and multifaceted process that challenged existing power structures. It's all about decolonization, how that was complex and multifaceted process, and it challenged the existing power structure, how it was going on continuously, and reshaped the global political landscape. The global political landscape got reshaped because of decolonization. In the wake of the war, victorious Allied powers found themselves confronted with a new reality in which the old colonial empires were weakened and their legitimacy was increasingly called into question. This led to a wave of nationalist movements across the world as former colonized peoples started to assert their rights to self-determination and break free from the legacy of imperialism. However, decolonization was not a simple or linear process, and it was marked by a number of challenges and contradictions. On the one hand, decolonization brought Fourth, a triumph for anti-colonial forces. It brought some triumph, the decolonization for the anti-colonial forces, and a step forward for global justice and equality. On the other hand, it was often a messy and violent process marked by the conflict and instability, and it did not always lead to the establishment of, did not always lead to the establishment of stable and democratic governments. So this is the first paragraph, talks about the decolonization, what was the context, how it affected the colonizers and even the colonies, how they started asserting their, the rights, what was the expectations, and then there were the challenges and contradictions. This is how the first part ended. Now let's see the next part. The question of how to transfer power from colonial regimes to new nationalist governments confronted all. In many cases, this process was fraught with difficulties as colonial powers were often reluctant to relinquish control, and nationalist movements were often deeply divided and lacked the institutional capacity to govern effectively. This is some challenges being mentioned here. The legacy of colonialism in itself was a challenge, which had left deep scars on the societies that had experienced it. Decolonization did not necessarily mean an end to the exploitation and marginalization of formerly colonized peoples, and many countries continued to struggle with poverty, inequality, and political instability long after gaining their independence. The legacy continues. So, how the final paragraph talks about the legacy of the colonialism, how it was very challenging, and it does not mean necessarily that everybody will get the right, everybody will get the, there will be end of struggle and end of poverty. That was not the case. Even in some other cases, it was seen that it continued for even longer time, even after decolonization. So that is how it ended. This starts with decolonization post-World War II, how, in what context it was actually, asserted, and how both the parties got affected, what was the mindset, what were the challenges and all, and in between some challenges are being mentioned, and then finally, it's got concluded with some observations. Now, that everything is not rosy. Let's go for the question. Based on the passage, the complex and multifaceted process of decolonization led to. Complex and multifaceted process of decolonization led to what? Led to what? Weakening of colonial empires. Colonial empires की बात कर रहे हैं हम. So, question is, based on the passage, according to passage, the complex and multifaceted process of decolonization led to weakening of colonial empires. So this was not the only reason which actually led to the weakening of colonial empires. Colonial empires got weakened because of World War and so many other stuff as well. So that's not the thing only which is being described here. Let's see the next. Revamping of global political landscape. There has been the change. 3, questioning of legitimacy of colonies. People started questioning the legitimacy. 4th, conquest of anti-colonial forces. Anti-colonial forces, their triumph and all. 5th, plunge towards global justice and equality. Now, which of the above statements are correct? So this led to what? So based on the passage, the complex and multifaceted process of decolonization led to. So let's see the first weakening of colonial empires. That is not being discussed. There were even actually, it was because of weakening of colonial empires that decolonization was one of the effect of it, not the cause of it. So Pehla got eliminated. Weakening of colonial empires is because the colonial empires got weakened because of the World War II. That actually caused this, decolonization process. So this is actually opposite. The first, anyway, is not the result of it. Second, revamping of global political landscape. It has been said actually, after this, after decolonization, this happened. Political landscape, reshaped the global political landscape. What reshaped? Decolonization. Decolonization post-World War II was a complex and multifaceted process that challenged existing power structures and reshaped the global political landscape. It's very specifically said. So revamped, reshaped the global political landscape. That was the result. So 2, 1 we got. 3, questioning the legitimacy of colonies. C, here, where you see the legitimacy, that is in which the old colonial empires were weakened, and there is legitimacy was increasingly called into question. So what is this? That the Allied powers, though they were winners, they were victorious, found themselves confronted with some realities where their legitimacy is being questioned. That was not the result of decolonization. This was the cause of the recolonization. Because their legitimacy was questioned, that is what leading towards decolonization. Are you getting my point? I hope. Questioning the legitimacy of colonies, this is not the result of decolonization. This is saying, question is, the complex and multifaceted process of decolonization led to. So what was the result? But this is the cause. That also got eliminated. As first got eliminated, third also got eliminated. Fourth, conquest of anti-colonial forces. See, anti-colonial process, they triumphed. It says that. In between, see, where is that? Yes, here. So, and it was marked by the number of challenges and contradictions. On the one hand, decolonization brought forth a triumph for anti-colonial forces and a step forward for global justice and equality. On the other hand, it was messy and violent process. So actually, their triumph is conquest in a way. So it's, other word is used, little harsher, but again, you can read that way. That you cannot eliminate. Next says, see. So yes, conquest is a little harsher word, but again, you cannot eliminate that. That is quite near. Next, fifth, plunge towards global justices and equality. Yes. So it is being, not going back. See, global justice and equality, it has been said anywhere, but yes, it's not always true, but that was the aim of decolonization. So finally, if you eliminate one, which is actually not the effect, but the cause. Similarly, third one is not the effect, but the cause. If you eliminate these two, you're left with 2, 4, and 5. Right? Decolonization led to these 3. Right? So this is what you get. You cannot eliminate these 3. Even the fourth one, conquest word is used, but they get that also, quite near to triumph. I mean, it's in a way, because all the power transfer was not, very easy or very peaceful. There has been a lot of, I mean, it is a conquest kind of, in a way. So that word also goes quite near, and obviously we have to limit ourselves to the passage. Next. What was the main challenges of decolonization? Now you talk about challenges. Messy and violent process marked by conflicts and instability. Challenges of decolonization. Transfer of power for colonial regimes to new nationalist governments. Prolonged poverty, inequality, and political instability. Nationalists were inept to govern effectively. Select the correct answers using the code given below. Right? So if you talk about challenges, okay, all right. See, second one, it could have been better framed actually. Transfer of power from colonial regimes to new nationalist governments. It's not only the transfer of power, but how to transfer the power. See, challenges was this, the how to transfer the power. Because the transfer was not easy, very smooth. It was not very smooth. So how to transfer, that was the challenge, not the transfer altogether. So it's mentioned. On the other hand, no, here I think. Yes, so the question of how to transfer power from colonial regimes to new nationalist governments confronted all. So how to transfer, that was a kind of a challenge, because transfer was not easy, because there was a lot of, fragmented, different, there was society, different, there is differences in the group. It was not very homogeneous. So that is the reason the how to transfer, that was a challenge. But transfer altogether, you cannot say. But anyway, see, just how to is not mentioned, so you can go for that one. Second, first, messy and violent process marked by the conflict and instability. Challenges of decolonization. So see, messy and violent process marked by conflicts and instability. Where is that? Yeah, that's where. Was not a simple or linear process, and it was marked by a number of challenges and contradictions. On one hand, decolonization was fraught with triumph and anti-colonial forces and step forward for global justice and equality. And on the other hand, it was often a messy and violent process marked by, so see, you might find difficult to eliminate this, but this is mentioned in some other context in order to bring out the conflict, in order to bring out the contradiction. So in that sense, I mean, it should have been framed in a better way. So in the sentence, then it would have been easier to actually eliminate. But again, if you see the context where it was mentioned, it was actually to bring out the contradiction. So you can eliminate by extension. Next, third one is prolonged poverty. This also could have been better framed, like, the possibility and all, because this is what is being mentioned in the end, that it did not mean, I mean, see, in the end, decolonization did not necessarily mean an end to the exploitation and marginalization of formerly colonized peoples. And many countries continued to struggle with poverty and inequality and the political instability long after the gaining their independence. This was the legacy continued actually. That was one fear. So in that context, it should have been, the language should have been a little clearer. So you might have got, easily this one. So prolonged, because the fear of prolonged poverty and inequality and political instability, that could have been better then. So nationalists were inept. That is also could have been better framed, this option. Nationalists were inept to govern effectively. That is actually, this line is said in our passage, but that is said in some other context. There was institutional capacity was not there. But institutional capability they lacked. They did not lack altogether, it was one presumption, one assumption. So that is the reason the whole sentence could have been used here. So it had been better actually. But again, with the extension, if you do the elimination, you're left with 2, 3, 4. So in that context, you get the answer C. Makes sense, I hope, right? Everybody? That's all. So anyway, because you cannot eliminate 2, 3, 4, that is the reason, even if you try to, if you're confused in one, you're finding it difficult to eliminate that. But again, you don't find any option which is with all 4, right? So it's easy to actually leave 1 because 1 is mentioned in order to bring out that contradiction. But others you cannot eliminate. So that is the reason finally you reach with C. In this context, C, with this option and these things. But otherwise, it could have been framed in a little better way. Next, the ongoing process of deepening interdependence. The ongoing process of deepening interdependence has stimulated a new momentum in human history. Now, so let's see this process. The ongoing process of deepening interdependence has stimulated a new momentum in human history, propelled by the cumulative acceleration of knowledge and transformation of technology. This momentum, however, is not equally shared. The distribution of power among states and within societies is a far more uneven process than the diffusion of knowledge and the spread of technology. The resulting asymmetries in power and wealth not only stops the emergence of the truly egalitarian global society, but also generate deep tensions and conflicts between the rich and poor, the strong and the weak, the privileged and the disenfranchised. The struggle to shape this new world order in a manner consistent with the American principles and interests is likely to be the key geopolitical challenge facing the United States for at least a generation. I hope you got the little bit of context. So deepening interdependence, the worldwide, is actually stimulated a new momentum in human history. How there has been a new kind of momentum, new kind of aspects to it, propelled by the cumulative acceleration of knowledge and transformation of technology. The complete knowledge and how the transformation of technology is working, is shaping, is bringing about this vulnerability. So this momentum, however, is not equally shared. This is what is being discussed here, how this causes actually, there is a differential differences in how it is being distributed amongst the states and the societies both. And what results due to that distribution of power, which is uneven, Because of that, what is actually the result of it? That is what is being discussed here. The resulting asymmetries in power and wealth not only precludes, it stops the emergence of truly egalitarian, welfaric society, welfaric global society, but has generated deep tensions and conflicts between the rich and poor, all kinds of conflicts between the rich and poor, between the strong and weak, between the privileged and disenfranchised. The struggle to shape this new world order in a manner consistent with American principles and interest is likely to be the key geopolitical challenge. That would be a bigger geopolitical challenge facing the United States for at least a generation to come. There it will be a bigger challenge in this context of interdependence. So this is where it has been discussed. So you see all kinds of resulting asymmetries and what it's causing, what is the effect of it, how there is a tension between the rich and poor and various states and the strong and weak and all, how this will go on, and it will be a bigger challenge for in the American principles, in the US context it is being discussed. So obviously this is what is mentioned in the end. Now, with reference to the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. The diffusion of knowledge and technology does not necessarily lead to a more egalitarian global society. Because this is what is mentioned in the beginning actually. The diffusion, cumulative acceleration of knowledge and transformation of technology. This momentum, however, is not equally shared. And that is where the problem comes. The distribution of power among the states and within the societies has very much uneven. And everything is just because of that. So it's very first one, the diffusion of knowledge and technology does not necessarily lead to a more egalitarian global society. The pursuit of American principles and interests is the most important factor in shaping the new world order. No, that is not the assumption. The first one is actually true. America is mentioned, but this is not the most important factor in shaping the new world order. Obviously not. So which one of the assumptions? One is only, you left with one. So and anyway, the extreme options, you should be wary of it and you be more cautious and check it, recheck it. So if this got eliminated, you're left with one only. Next. The electric age has been a time, just a minute. Yes, so next passage. The electric age has been a time of such immense technological transition and of such accelerated social change that man's awareness of the patterns of his own communication has been rendered an intense and private activity. So the electric age has been a time of such immense technological transition, such a bigger technological transition, and of such accelerated social change, such as speeded up, that the man's awareness of the patterns of his own communication has been rendered an intense and private activity, as both the content and the context of the communication are subjected to a process of radical redefinition. Man's sensory life is being restructured in terms of new technologies. To come, complete sensory life. The electric age is marked by a shift from the linearity and uniformity of the printed page, which Gutenberg made the basis of Western culture, to the instantaneous, non-linear interplay of electric information. You're getting my point, right? How this is being shifted. The electric age is marked by the shift from the linear and uniformity of printed page, which Gutenberg made the basis of Western culture when it was discovered first, the printing and all that. So now from there to the instantaneous with the technology, the movement of information, as we see, instantaneous and non-linear interplay of the electric information. As the technology of communication becomes the environment of man, his sensory life undergoes a process of narcosis, a metaphoric, as a metaphor it is being used, state where man becomes unaware of the ground of his own activities and tends to be absorbed in the sensation produced by his extended faculties, right? So this electric age, actually how this has affected the complete, the human sensory experience, that is what is being brought out, and that is also being contrasted with the earlier, how the information was, spread. So electric, you get the idea, immense technological transition, That is what the electric age simply means. That has been defined later. The immense technological transition accelerated this complete social change, and how the man's awareness of patterns, his own communication, simply because communication and other sensory experiences, that is what is being discussed, elaborated upon. So that's the reason it has started here exclusively on that. So now that has been considered, and it has been said that finally, that as the technology of communication becomes the environment of man, as it goes, it gets assimilated, his sensory life undergoes a process of narcosis, a metaphorical state where man becomes unaware of the ground of his own activities and tend to be absorbed in the sensation produced by his extended faculties, extended obviously the sensory organs. What is the central idea of the above given passage? The electric age has led to a decrease in the social change. So it's not being said. It's very much centric to the people, man. The electric age has led to a decrease in the use of printed material. That's only the contrasted in the sense of spread of dissemination of the information. Not this context is not, in this context, printed materials reduce. In that context, is not being discussed. The electric age has caused man to become more aware of his surroundings. No, that has not been said. The electric age has led to restructuring of human sensory life, actually. So this is what has been brought out and finally concluded with. So if we do the simple elimination, electric age has led to decrease in the social change. But there's nothing to suggest this. The electric age has led to decrease in the printed materials. Nothing. Even where it has been mentioned, see, where is that? Yes, the electric age is marked by the shift from the linearity and uniformity of the printed page. In that context is being mentioned, that the information and things were very linear and very uniform. Linearity and uniformity of printed page, which Gutenberg made the basis of Western culture, to the instantaneous and non-linear interplay. Instantaneous because now you need not print and then carry it, but it's instantaneous, right? With the electric, with all kinds of technological development. Instantly you can reach the information to other person, right? Non-linear interplay of the electric information. As the technology of communication becomes the environment of man, his sensory life undergoes a process of complete change and gets affected. Metaphorically, to state the man becomes unaware of his whole ground of activities and tend to absorbed in the sensations produced by his own extended faculties. Now, so in that context, if you do the simple elimination, you're left with this only, because the electric age has led to the restructuring of human sensory life, and that is what is being highlighted only. And Joby mentioned, even the printed materials has been mentioned in some other context, in the uniformity context, not in the context of decreasing of the printed material. Now, next. The present recession in America is a complex phenomenon that has far-reaching implications for the country's economic and social fabric. The current recession in America is a complex phenomenon that has far-reaching implications for the country's economic and social fabric. The recession has been caused by the combinations of factors including COVID-19 pandemic, the collapse of housing market, and the decline of the manufacturing sector. So there are multiple factors to it. As a result, the unemployment rate has risen to historic levels and businesses have struggled to stay afloat. A significant consequence of recession has been the widening income gap between the rich and the poor. While the wealthy have been able to weather the economic storm relatively well, low-income households have been hit the hardest. This has exacerbated existing inequalities in American society and has highlighted the need for policies that address income inequality. Despite the government's efforts to stimulate the economy through monetary and fiscal policies, the recovery has been slow and uneven. Some sectors of the economy, such as the tech industry, have been relatively resilient, while others, such as the hospitality and the travel industry, have been devastated. So this American recession in the America, that is what is being elaborated upon, how it is affecting, what is the causes of it, how it got caused, and how it's affecting the people, the common people, how the rich are somehow able to even ward off the effects of it, but the poor are getting badly impacted. I mean, how the government steps even not very effective in controlling it. This is how it has been discussed, and some specific sectors which are badly affected, and some other sectors which are actually doing quite well. So this is how it has been concluded. So whole passes, you got the idea, you got the context. Let's see the question. Which one of the following statements best reflects the central idea of the passage given below? The main theme, main point. The culmination of different elements has caused the present recession in America. In a way, it's true, because some mention, but this is just an opinion. It's not the main opinion. It's not the main point. It's one supporting point. The present recession in America has led to the widening income gap between the rich and the poor. Right? Due to that, there are a lot of consequences. The government's efforts to stimulate the economy have not been effective. The government's efforts have not been effective. That's true. That is one supporting details. To complete, different sectors of the economy have been struck, each in their own way. In a way, that also, by extension, you can take them in. Some sectors has been mentioned, travel and all that, hospitality and travel, that has been badly affected, and some are somehow doing well. So this is how it has been mentioned. But this is also not the main point. This could be one of the supporting details. So the present recession in America has led to the widening income gap between the rich and poor. That is the prevalent idea. That's the most important idea, the central idea. Right? Others are just some supporting details. So that is how you have to eliminate. The prevalent one, the most important one, that's what will be the central idea, central theme, main idea, main point, main theme. Others will be supporting details. Now, next, the French Revolution. We'll do the next one. Yes. Okay. So the French Revolution was a period of political and social upheaval. French Revolution was a period of political and social upheaval that marked the end of absolute monarchy and paved the way for the establishment of a republic. The revolution resulted in the execution of King Louis XVI, the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, and the spread of revolutionary ideas throughout Europe. It had a profound impact on society as it marked the end of feudalism and establishment of more egalitarian society. It also abolished the monarchy and established a republic. So the first part talks about French Revolution and its repercussions in the surrounding areas and in the same country. It impacted not only France but the world too. The revolution paved as a catalyst for the spread of democratic ideals worldwide and the overthrow of monarchies throughout Europe. The revolutionary ideas also spread the other parts of the world, inspiring nationalist movements and independence struggles. The representative governments were formed in parts of the world. Napoleon, the child of the revolution, became one of the most powerful leaders in Europe in history. He established a vast empire and introduced numerous reforms, including the Napoleonic Code, which continues till today. Right? So you see now in the context of the French Revolution, what changes it brought. Right? This is what is being discussed, and how the transformation from monarchy to republic, how that happened, and how these ideas actually spread throughout the Europe. That is what is being discussed, and how it has the greater impact on the society and ended the feudalism and established more egalitarian society, abolished monarchy, established republic. All these factual details being discussed in the first part of the passage, and the next part talks about its own repercussions in the surrounding areas broadly, right? And various governments, various parts of the world, how the representative governments were established, how the nationalist movements arose, and so many things. This is what is being discussed. And finally, how the Napoleon became a greater king, and his impacts actually even continue till today. So that's the passage all about. Question: which one of the following statements best reflects the most critical inference that can be made from the passage given above? Most critical inference. Right? First option, the French Revolution freed people from the evils of feudalism. Most critical inference. See, the overthrow of monarchies throughout the Europe happened due to the French Revolution. I mean, that happened due to that only, we don't know. That is not that elaborately discussed. At least not that important a factor that you can call that an inference. Next, The French Revolution paved the way for the spread of democracy and nationalism. The French Revolution gave birth to Napoleon, whose codes hold relevance even today. So if you talk about the whole passage, in that context, what is the most critical inference? See, the first one, the French Revolution freed people from the evils of feudalism. It's very generic. That cannot be inference. It's a lot generic. Even it does not have the support in the passage. See, inference could be broader, but it should have maximum support in the passage. If it is not supported by the passage, it is not supported by anything in the passage, then that is not the inference. That is generic statement without any support. That cannot be inference. That cannot be valid inference. So that is what it lacks. Next, the overthrow of monarchies throughout the Europe happened due to the French Revolution only. That is too generic, again, without much support. Though there is a mention of it, it does cause impact. It impacted, but that was the only cause. It's not very much elaborated. It's not have that much support. In all these four options, the best supported inference is the C1. French Revolution paved the way for the spread of democracy and nationalism, because there's a lot of information which is mentioned there in the passage which supports this inference. So you'll go for this one. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Now, next. Next passage. Child marriage is a deeply ingrained social issue that persists in India despite being illegal. Right? It is fueled by a variety of factors, including poverty, social norms, and gender inequality. For many families, marrying off their daughters at the young age is seen as a way to alleviate economic burdens and preserve traditional cultural practices. What is actually causing this social evil to continue? This is what is being mentioned in the first paragraph of the passage. Now, later, the consequences of child marriage are severe and long-lasting. Girls who are married off at the young age are often forced to drop out of school, which limits their opportunities for educational and future employment. Child brides are also more likely to experience domestic violence, sexual abuse, and poor reproductive health outcomes. Child marriage perpetuates the cycle of poverty, as girls who marry young are more likely to have children at a young age and face economic hardships. Gender sensitization, girls' empowerment through education, and incentivizing parents are of importance to end this social evil. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So it starts with all those factors which actually contributes in continuing this evil in the society, how this is being continued, what are the factors contributing to that, and then it talks about all those severe consequences of it, how it's perpetuating the poverty, how it's affecting the health and everything of the girls, and what should be the course of action to actually address this evil. This is how it ended. So we got an idea of the text, right? Now, question. Which one of the following statements best reflects the central idea of the passage given above? Central idea, again the same thing, main theme, central idea, central point, main point. First option, amalgamation of factors fuel child marriage in India. Main point say, there are the supporting details. The repercussions of child marriage are more permanent and acute. Repercussions, consequences, that has been very, expressly brought out, very expressly highlighted. Repercussions, all the repercussions, be it economic, be it health, be it social, everything has been highlighted. So that is more prominent. But again, let's see the next options. Child marriage is a deeply ingrained social issue in India. It is ingrained, but whole of passage is more and more revolves around this. Multi-pronged approach is required to eliminate child marriage. The only elimination part has not been discussed. More elaborately, this part has been discussed. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So this is the best option if you do the elimination. That's the central point, that's the central theme of this passage at least. Right? Now, next passage. Theoretical studies have shown that the behavior of complex systems, such as ecosystems, can exhibit critical transitions in response to gradual environmental changes. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Theoretical studies have shown that the behavior of complex systems, such as ecosystem, can present critical transitions in response to gradual environmental changes. These transitions are characterized by sudden and often irreversible. Sudden and often irreversible, which cannot be brought back to the original shape. Irreversible shifts in the state of the system, which can lead to the collapse of ecological communities and the loss of ecosystem services. A key challenge in predicting critical transitions is to identify the early warning signals that precedes them. So before all these irreversible changes happens, before the collapse happens, there are some warning signals. So that needs to be identified in order to predict the critical transition. Recent work has shown that the statistical properties of the fluctuations in the system's dynamics can provide such signals. So how these signals could be gauged, that is what is being said. Recent work has shown that this is how you can identify those signals. Specifically, critical slowing down, which refers to the phenomenon of a system becoming slower to recover. It is not recovering fast enough. Recover from small perturbations, small fluctuations or changes, as it approaches a critical transition, can increase the autocorrelation and variance of the system's dynamics. This can in turn lead to an increase in the coefficient of variation of the fluctuations, which can serve as an early warning signal for a critical transition. So here, the author talks about the theoretical studies around, which actually shows the behavior of all the complex systems and gives example of ecosystem as the complex system, because there is a lot of interdependencies and complexities in ecosystem as well, right? So this is what gives as an example and then elaborates on that can exhibit critical transitions from response to gradual environmental changes, and how those critical, transitions could be gauged through some informations, through some warning signals and all, and what specifically could be identified in that process in order to read the warning signals. That has been specifically said here, that this is critical slowing down to recover it, right? That's what it is. And then it talks about they recover the small perturbations of it approaches the critical transition. That's where the slowing down happens, can increase the autocorrelation in the variance of the system's dynamics. So this relationship is actually can be measured through the increase in the coefficient of the variation of the fluctuations, which can serve as an early warning signal for the critical transition. So that warning signal, which is related to the capacity to recover when confronted with all these critical changes, critical impacts of the environmental changes, so that it does not collapse. So how that could be gauged, that is what is being elaborated upon in the second part of the passage. And it ends with discussing that coefficient of variation, right? And how the coefficient could be read, how the coefficient could be identified, that is also elaborated in the last 2-3 lines. So I hope we got the idea. So let's see the question. Which of the following statements best reflects the most rational, plausible, and practical implication that can be derived from the passage given above? Which one is the most plausible, rational implication? Implication means inference, implied. That's what it is. We all know the question types, I think. You are aware. So let's see the question options. Identifying early warning signals can prevent critical transitions in ecosystems, right? That is one mention. That is mentioned. Critical transitions are irreversible shifts in the state of ecosystem, in the state of the system. This is mentioned. The coefficient of variation of the fluctuations can serve as an early warning system for the critical transition. Complex systems such as ecosystem exhibit critical slowing down as they approach critical transition. See, all are somewhere or the other, you find the mention of almost all the options. But what we are looking for, we're looking for most rational and plausible inference, right? So the whole passage talks about the complexities of all the complex theoretical studies around the behavior of the complex systems, and gives the example of ecosystem, how that gets affected with the environmental changes. And that causes the complete collapse of the system. It can cause the critical collapse of the system. And then how it could be read, how the warning signals are there before the collapse. There is a warning signal, and how it could be read, and what is the warning signal, how it actually, the warning signal is related with the ability and capacity to recover. And if that gets slowed down, that is a red signal. And how, in that process, what is this coefficient? So that is what is being discussed. Specifically, this provides us signals, specifically critical slowing down of what? Which refers to the phenomenon of a system becoming slower to recover from small perturbations as it approaches. There is some changes, some effects, and from that, it's not recovering. That process is getting slowed down. That is what is being elaborated on. It approaches a critical transition, can increase the autocorrelation and variance of systems dynamics. Dynamics means what? Obviously, the complete, the process, the interrelation, the correlation, where the wear and tear is happening, but it's continuously recovering it. Simply, keeps actually curing it. But that process of curing gets slowed down critically. That is what the the warning signal is. Increase the autorelations variance of the system's dynamics. This can in turn lead to an increase in the coefficient of variation and of the fluctuations. So whatever the fluctuations are happening, that variation, the rate at which it gets affected and then repaired, so that ability is actually getting lost. So that is what actually is the coefficient. If that coefficient, we can read, we'll be able to get the warning signal. Now, fluctuations, which can serve as an early warning signal for the critical transition. So coefficient is actually in relationship between the wear tear and ability to repair that process. So now, if you see the whole passage, the inclination is towards reading the warning signals and what is the warning signal, right? So this is the only option. The coefficient of variation of the fluctuations can serve as an early warning signal for the critical transition. If there is a critical transition, and you can read that, and what is the critical transition, how that is a coefficient, obviously the fluctuations happening and the ability to, fluctuations in what? Ability to repair the damages timely, but that should not get slowed down. That is where the coefficient is being mentioned. So this has been elaborated more in the more of the system, because that there would be, effect, there would be damages on every complex system, be it the ecosystem even, with the environmental factors. But the best part, but the remedy lies in reading the warning signals. And starting from that, the warning signal, reading and gazing the warning signal, till the end, this is what is being discussed. So rational and plausible inference goes here, C, because that is the most important point which is being discussed. Reading the warning signals. I hope that's how you can see the most critical and plausible implication is this one of the whole passage. So this is the best option. Next. The rise of chit fund scams in India has become a major concern for the government and citizens alike. For both, it has become a major concern. Chit fund schemes are essentially financial frauds that dupe investors by promising high returns on their investments. These schemes attract lower middle class and poor individuals who are looking to earn some extra money. However, they are often left with nothing but losses and debts. So the first part of the passage talks about the chit fund scams and what is this, how it happens by promising the higher returns, but actually the people of the poor middle class, poor people, and the poor people, they are left with just the losses and debts. That's it. Now, next part. The problem has become so widespread that it has attracted the attention of regulatory authorities who are working tirelessly to curb the menace. Despite these efforts, chit fund scams continue to flourish, with many perpetrators still at large. They're not even caught. They're not even brought to the legal tangle, right? The problem is compounded. Problem actually gets compounded because of what? By the fact that such scamsters run away from the country, misusing loopholes of the existing laws. That is the bigger problem actually. They're not even brought to the legal system and they're not made to suffer because of their wrongdoings. That is the bigger challenge. That's how it gets concluded. So whole passage, we get an idea what is chit fund scam, how that is affecting the citizens badly, how, I mean, they, by promising the returns, bigger returns, they affect actually the middle class people, poor middle class people, poor people, who actually, just because of these promises, they are entangled into the losses and debts. And finally, it is such widespread that it has come to the notice of regulatory bodies, but the people are not, brought to the justice. That is where the problem is. They actually escape the country even, finding the loopholes of the legal system. So existing laws, right? Next question. Which of the following statements best reflects the most rational, logical, and practical suggestion implied by the passage given above? So, सबसे rational and logical suggestion which is given. Let's see the options. The government should provide financial literacy programs to lower middle class and poor individuals. That has not been, the point of discussion in the passage. Victims of chit fund scams should be compensated for their losses. That is also not being discussed as a remedy or whatever. The government should ban chit fund schemes altogether. A knee-jerk reaction. This is also not being discussed. The government should take urgent actions to address the issue and ensure that those responsible for these scams are brought to justice. In the second part of the paragraph, second part of the passage, this is what is being highlighted, that these people actually are at large. They're not caught. The justice is not done. They even find the loopholes and run away out of the country. That is what is actually, that is one of the major reasons it's flourishing, because they're not brought to, to the, under the wheels of justice, I mean, under the legal tangle. And they're using some loopholes from the existing laws, and they're running away from the justice. That is where the problem lies, a bigger problem lies. This is what actually in the context of our passage, because we have to limit ourselves to the context of the passage only. So in that context, this one, you can conclude the best logical, rational, practical suggestion. Next. Education is an essential part of human development. Education is an essential part of human development. It is a tool that equips individuals with knowledge, skills, and values that enable them to realize their full potential and navigate the challenges of life. However, access to education is not equal across the world. Many individuals, especially those living in developing countries, lack access to education due to the various reasons, such as poverty, conflicts, and cultural beliefs. As a result, these individuals are denied the opportunity to acquire knowledge and skills that can transform their lives and communities. So the whole passage talks about the essential education and its essentialness in the human development and its lack of access to the poor people in developing countries, and how they all don't get the access to the proper education system so that they can improve on and learn the education and skills and improve upon their current situation, current conditions, present conditions. So they're not able to afford, they're not afforded that access. So that is where the problem lies. So this is what the passage is all about. Let's see the question. Which one of the following statements best reflects the corollary to the passage given alone? Corollary, again, logical corollary, the inference sense. See the options. Education is not a luxury, but a fundamental human right. So it shouldn't be denied to any. So that aspect is not being discussed. Removing the barrier of poverty, conflicts, and cultural beliefs will make education accessible. That is a barrier. This is what is being discussed. But author, not very well, talks about on that line how to remove it, and removing will make it more accessible. Providing access to education is crucial for the progress of societies and the realization of individual potential. Yes, that has been brought out very clearly and categorically. So this is what it is. Next, D dekh lo. Lifelong learning is essential to enable individuals to stay relevant in their careers. Lifelong learning, that is not the point of discussion anyway. So you're left with C only after doing the elimination on the basis of paragraph, on the basis of our passage. So this is what it is. I think we got the answer. So that's it. So you must have got the answers with reasoning and all. That's all for today. Have fun. See you in the next class. Thank you.
Welcome everyone. Let's start with the discussion of aptitude segment. This pattern or this paper was, at least from the perspective of quant, was on the lines of UPSC. Some standard typical problems that come in UPSC and some tricky ones. Probably equivalent to or UPSC or slightly below. So if you're doing well in this quant, that means your preparation is up to mark. So let's start. This is a typical standard question. We have a direct formula for this. What is the formula? N of A union B union C is equal to N of A plus N of B plus N of C minus N of A intersection B minus N of A B intersection C, N of C intersection A plus N of A intersection B intersection C. So in this case, this will become 95 because 5 have not participated in anything. We have the data for all of this. This is what we will get finally as the answer. So the answer here would be 75. Okay, so answer would be 75. That is 15%. Fine. Then, okay, this is an easier question. See, it says A. Okay, let me write it. Hold on. Okay. See, it says coffee is served to the friends A, B, and C. Fine. A, B. So A is to B is 5:4. Then B is to C is 6:8. So just to fill in the blanks here, we'll get 6, 4, 30, 24, 32. This becomes 15, 12, 16. We need the ratio for this. So this will be 12 by, this is 28. 28 plus 15, 43 into 21.5. This is roughly 2 and this is roughly 6. So the answer would be roughly around 6. The answer here would be roughly around 6. A fruit vendor has some apples. He divided it. Okay, fine. See here, the question will demand that you take 2/5 and 6/5. So it would be good if you take the quantity in terms of 25. It would be very easy. So let's start. The 3 baskets, A, B, and C. It says if basket A has 2/5 of the number of basket B and C together. So let this together be 25. So this becomes 2 by 5, 5 5 is 25. This will become 10, 2/5, right? So 2 into 5, correct, 2/5, 10. And it says B contains 6/5 of the number of apples in A. So 10 into 6 by 5, 2. So this will become 12. So B is 12, A is 10. Now B plus C is 25. So C will become 13. C will become 13. So what will be the total? Total will be 13 divided by this. This is 35. So the answer would be 13 divided by 35. 13 divided by 35. A postman goes 20 kilometers east. This is simple. A postman goes 20 kilometers east to the post office. So let this be the post office. He goes 20 kilometers east. Then turning to the south. So he then turns to the south and goes 30 kilometers. And then turns to the left. So he turns to the left and goes 10 kilometers. Calculate and tell the shortest distance. Okay. So this is, let's say, point Q. So we have to find this distance. Now I know that this is 20 and this is 30, right? So this is, let's see. Let this be the C. C is equal to, let me call it OQR. So this square plus this square, which is what, 30 square plus 30 square, right? So this is C square. C will be what? Under root 30 root 2. So the answer would be 30 root 2. Simple question. This is again a good question. I found the options a bit tricky and confusing here. Let's see. It says the number should be divisible by 4 and 25 and 4. 5 and 4 happen to be co-prime. So there cannot be any common, let's say, factor between them. That means the number should be divisible by 100. So it should end with 00. Ideally, should end with 00. Now let's see. So the number that we have is 35 AB, 354 AB, right? So the solution for this would be 00. Now see, for the number to be divisible by 25, what are the possible last two digits? These are the possible last two digits. 75 also would come. These are the possible last two digits. So minimum will be 00. So minimum will be 00. And for it to be divisible by 4, the options are, for 4 we check the last two digits. What is the rule for 4 divisibility by 4? We have to check the last two digits. So these are the possible alternatives. This will go on, and the minimum value would be this. So, I mean, based on my analysis, you need both the statements together to get this answer. But let us run through the options. See, 1 alone is not sufficient. 2 alone is not sufficient. Taken together are not sufficient. So C is also wrong. 1, A, B, and D are wrong. So that leaves only C as the option. But option could have been that we need both of them together. We need both of them together to get the answer for this one. Now the numbers this, and this, when divided by, see, here the rule is that you just take these two numbers and do the subtraction. So this becomes 6, 3, 5, 2, 5, 11, 5. Then just prime factorize it. So finally what you will get is 463. That will be one of the prime numbers. And if you divide this by 463, you get 307 as the remainder. Divide this by 463, you get 307 as the remainder. So that is your answer. This was a tricky question. If you don't know the methodologies for doing these questions, they are better left off on that particular day. Then what is the least value? This is simple, divisible by 9, right? So 8 plus 4, 12, 12 plus 7, 19, 19 plus 5, 24, 24 plus 2, 26. So I've reached 26. For it to be divisible by 9, I have to make the sum as 27. So for that, I need to add 1. So the answer would be 1. Let's see this one. See here, we have to find which term? 99th term starting from here. So my first term is minus 1139. Then, so what is the nth term? A plus n minus 1 into d. So this becomes this plus 99 minus 1 is 98 into 11. So this becomes minus 1139 plus, see 98 into 11 कैसे लिखेंगे? 8, 8 plus 9, 17, 1078. Okay. So your answer would be minus 61. Answer would be minus 61. Okay, 38. If the value of A is between, this is a good question. So the value of A is between minus 6, minus 3, and the value of B is between minus 3 and 3. Okay. And we are supposed to maximize karna hai, must be between the ranges. Fine. We have to find the minimum value and maximum value of A square minus B square. So when we go for A square minus B square, remember the signs would not matter because we are squaring the individual numbers. So when will this be maximum? See, when A is maximum and B is minimum, that is when we will have the maximum value. So what is the maximum value A can attain? 6 square minus, see, minimum value would be that I make it 0. That is when I'll get maximum value of A square minus B square. So that would be what? 36. So my maxima here would be 36. Minimum would be, see, when I do, for example, A square minus B square is equal to 0. So for that, what values can I take? See here, I can take this as minus 3 square minus 3 square. So it would be 0. So minimum value would be 0 and maximum value would be 36. Okay. In a group of 30 people, 15 run, swim, theek hai. This is a 3-set Venn diagram. So these are my runners. These are swimmers and these are cyclists. This is 15, 13, 13 swim and 13 cycle. Okay. Now, see here. Have they given us common? 5 can do all 3 activities. So this is 5. Now 5 can run and swim. Run and swim is already 5, so this will become 0. Then 8 cycle and swim. 8 can cycle and swim, so this will become 3. Then 9, so this will become 4. So I hope till here it is clear. Then they're asking how many of the people can neither run nor cycle. So that means I need to eliminate run and cycle. So I need the people who are not participating plus this segment alone. Now this is 13. So from this remove 8. So let me remove 8 minus 8. So this becomes 5. Correct, huh? This becomes 5. Then they're asking neither run nor swim. We also need to know the number of people which have not been included in the group altogether. So how do we get that? See, that would be 30 minus, just do this. Remember the first formula we had used, a of b, n of a plus n of b plus n of c minus this. You will get that value as 6. So what happens in this question is 6 people have not participated in anything, and these 5 are neither runners nor swimmers. So we add the both values up and we get 11. So your answer would be 11. Answer would be 11. Okay, pie chart gives a sale of tickets various destinations. Okay? The destinations are namely, fine. Let's write the destinations. Okay, let's write with the values. Hold on. Okay, so Manhattan, let's start with Manhattan, England, Hawaii, Seychelles. Now it is 90 degrees, 50, 70, 80. Okay, then they're asking if Sunrise Airlines sold total 900 tickets. Sunrise, okay. Then by how much percentage the tickets sold for England and Manhattan? This, so let me add this up. This is 140 degrees. Differ from the tickets sold for Seychelles and Hawaii. Seychelles and Hawaii, 80 plus, this is 150. Okay, see, so what is the difference here? 10 over 150. We need to find the percentage change. So the difference here is 10 and percentage over 150. This is the base. So 1 by 15 is 6.66. So the answer would be 1.66. Now a ghee shopkeeper, this was a good question, marks up the price of the ghee by 120 and he gives a discount of 10%. Okay, so that means if the price is 100, cost price is 100, he marks it as 120, then he gives a discount of 10%. So into 0.9, that means he's selling it at 108. This is the selling price. This is the cost price and this is the mark price. Then it says he cheats a supplier by buying 100 gram while he cheats a supplier as well as the buyer. So he's cheating on both the ends. Often we get the question where they normally cheat let's say the person they're selling to. But here he's cheating both the sides of the equation. That makes this question slightly tricky. Let's see. So what he does is he cheats his suppliers and buyers by 100 grams. So on both the ends he's cheating by 100 grams. So that means, observe, we know that he's paying, since for 100 hai, 108 is his price, for 1000 gram it will become 1080. Okay, so if his cost price is 100, or in this case it would be 1000, then his selling price is 1080. I hope till here we are clear. Now remember, he's cheating by 100 grams. That means while paying for 1000 grams, he's actually getting 1100 grams. And while selling, okay, he's selling 900 grams. I hope this part is clear. So I know that the cost price for 1100 grams is this. Now if I can get the selling price for 1100 grams, I can directly compare. So use the unitary method to get selling price for 1100 gram, how do we do this? For 900, it is 1080. So for 1100, it would be x. So x is equal to 1080 into 1100 divided by 900. Let's cancel this. 9 ones are 9. 120 into 11, 1320. So for 1100 grams, see he's paying how much? Cost price is 1000 rupees, but selling price is 1320. So what is the percentage gain? 32%. So net may he is gaining 32%. Answer would be A. Next question here. This is a very good question. It says you to find number of zeros. Now number of zeros would depend upon number of 5s and number of 2s. Now number of 2s are aplenty. So let's focus on number of 5s. So that this is the first thing we have to focus on, number of 5s. Now in this equation, see I can write this as 5 to the power of 5 only for the number of 5s. 10 to the power of 10, then 15 to the power of 15, 20 to the power of 20, and 25 to the power of 25. So this will give me 5 5s, this will give me 10, this will give me 15, this will give me 20, this will give me 25 plus 25. So wherever we have 5 coming twice, that will give me double the number of terms. So I can write this as 5 plus 10 plus 15 up to 100. Okay. Then plus, see 25 will give me 25 extra. Similarly 50 will give me 50 more 5s. Then 75 will give me more and 100 will give me 100 more. Now this, I can take 5 common, so this will become 1 plus 2 plus up to 20 plus, say this becomes 100 plus 100, 200 plus 50, 250. And this would be 5 into 20 into 21 by 2, 21, sorry. So 105, so this becomes 1050 plus 250. So the answer is 1300. Answer is 1300. Now, okay. So this is a standard, not standard question, but a typical one. See, it says there are 2 chefs, Ranveer and Umesh. Let their combined time be X. Then it says he takes 8 hours more than if they cooked together. So this will become X plus 8 and this will become X plus 4.5. Now the equation would be that 1 by X is equal to 1 by X plus 4.5 plus 1 by X plus 8. Now substitute the values. Solving this could take more time. Substitute the values, you'll get 10.5 as the answer. So the answer would be 10.5. Now this is a good question. See, a bag contains totally 44 rupees and it says it is in the denominations of, so let me write 5, 10, 25. Then for every 2 25 paisa coins, there are 3. So let me make this as 2. Then there are 3 10 paisa coins and 6 5 paisa coins. No, so what will be the value of this combined? So this will become 0.5, 25 into 2. This will become 0.3 and this will become 0.3. So if I add this up, I get 6 plus 5, 11. 1.1 part is equal to 44, which implies P is equal to 440. Now they're asking for how many 10 paisa coins? 10 would be 40 into 3. So the answer would be 120. Answer would be 120. Then, okay, again a good question. We have 5 letters here. There are 2 vowels, right? A and E. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 consonants. 4 consonants. So they can be written in 4 factorial ways. Now see here, it says no vowel can occupy odd place. So vowel can come here and here and here. This can be done in 3p2 ways, which is what, 6. So the answer would be 6 into 4 factorial, which is 144. So the answer would be 144. Then average age of 25 groups of people is 25 years. A very standard question. For 25 people, it is 25. One more person is added, average becomes 25.5, plus he has to give half, that is 0.5 for 25 people. So this becomes 12.5, 12.5. So add this 0, 8, 3, 38. So the answer is 38. Start. A cricket team must be assembled from a total of 25 players with 7 batsmen and 4 bowlers needed. So 25 players. We need, see, batsman, let's say batsman and bowler. We need 7 here and 4 here. Then find the number of possible combinations in which the team can be formed if 40% of the players are bowlers. What is 40% of 25, 25 into 4? So this becomes 10 and this becomes 15. So from 15 I have to select 7. So this becomes 15C7 into 10C4. So the answer, it's a very big number. The answer is B. The answer is B. Then Aman and Babita, good question, received 1200 in inheritance. So let Aman ka share be X. Babita ka share becomes 1200 minus X. See, they spent 85%. Sorry, 85% is remaining. So they spent 15%. So what is 15% of 12? It is 10, 0, 1, 7, 1, 80. So they have spent, okay, hold on. They have spent 180 in total. Okay, so now 12% of X, that means 0.12X plus 20%, that means 0.2 of 1200 minus X is equal to 180. We just have to solve this equation. This becomes 0.12X plus 240 minus 0.2X is equal to 180. Okay, which implies ये उधर जाएगा. So minus 0.08X is equal to 60. Fine. So your answer would be, so which implies what is X? X is 60 into 100 by 8. So, okay, let me make it 50. 8 के टेबल में 60 जाएगा, नहीं जाएगा, ठीक है. So it's 50 by 4, 15, 750. Okay, so X is 750. Then amount left is being asked. See, this person's share is 750 and he has spent 12% of 750. So how much is left? Left is 88%. That means 75, 750 into 88 by 100. So 75 into 8 into 11. So what is this? 8 5s are 40, 0, 4, 8 7s are 56, 60. So 60 into 11, 11, 60 into 11, this becomes 0, 660. So the answer would be 660. Okay, answer would be 660. Okay, this is a good question. We know that 12 cube is 1728. And if you just expand the expression on top, 10 cube, 1000 plus 9, what is 9 cube? 729. So it becomes 1729 to the power of 752. The remainder here is 1. 1 raised to the power of 752 or anything will remain 1. So the answer is 1. Very good question. The answer is 1. Then again a good question. The wall clocks at the London Bridge gains 4 seconds in 2 minutes. See, it gains 4 seconds in 2 minutes. So that means in 60 minutes, it will gain how much? Into 30. 120 seconds or 2 minutes. Fine. Then they're saying that clock was set right at 8 a.m. and the time was noticed at 3:45 p.m. The wrong clock is showing 3:45. So let's calculate the number of hours. It is 7 hours 45 minutes. 7:45. Let's convert this into minutes. So 420 plus 45, 465. So observe that when the right clock is 60 minutes, the wrong clock shows 62 minutes. So when the wrong clock shows 465, we have to find this. Okay, so how do we get this? Here x is equal to 465 into 60 upon 62, 30 by 31, 1, I get 5, what do I get? 155 into 5. So this is 450. That means that actual time is 15 minutes behind. It is showing as 465 minutes, but actually it should be 450 minutes. That means reduce 15 minutes from the actual time. So reduce 15 minutes from this, we get 3:30 as the answer. So my answer is 3:30 p.m. Fine. Okay, this was a tricky question, to be honest. In these type of questions, what we normally do is, we take the numbers inside this, find them a common number. For example, if it is 3 cube and 9 to the power of, let's say, 6 ulta, ऐसे, then what we do is we write this as 3 square, 6, and then operate. But here, see, now the numbers are 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we cannot make the numbers inside the bracket same. So now we have to make powers as same. That is the other option. That means these powers should be made same. That means 300, 200, 150, and 100. I have to make them as same, raised to the same power. That means I need LCM of these. The LCM, or the lowest common multiple of these. Sorry, I need a factor. I need a common factor of these, and the common factor of these is 50. So let me erase this. So how can I write this? Let's see. See, I can write 200. I can write this number as 2 into 100 raised to the power of 6 whole to the power of 50. So this becomes 2 to the power of 6 into 100 to the power of 6 to the power of 50. Now let me go to the second number. Second number is 300 to the power of 200. I can write this as 3 into 100 to the power of 4 into 50. This can be written as 3 to the power of 4 into 100 to the power of 4 raised to the power of 50. Then whichever of these numbers is largest, that will be my answer. Slightly tricky, the answer is A. The answer here is A. Okay, very big question. इतना बड़ा क्वेश्चन अगर यूपीएससी में आ जाए, read the question and leave it, or take it in the second round. Definitely not in the first round. See here, because the question is actually simple, but the number of calculations are a bit too many. Let me solve this. Question 69. 69 kahan hai? Yeah. See, the question says that 10 years ago, the age was 280, I think, 260. The age was 260. Now see here, there are 5 people. 2 are unmarried, 3 are married. So that means they also have wives. So what is the total number of people? 8. So we'll remember this, that the total number of people is 8. So average of 8 people was 260. Then it says that after the sum of the ages of 260 years, sorry, 260, correct? 3 years later, so plus 3 years, one person retired. The retirement happens at the age of 60. Usse pehle 3 years, there are 8 members. So 8 into 3, 24 will get added. So this becomes 284. One person dies. And so 60 is removed. So this becomes 224. Now there are 7 people and one more person is born. So total number of people are still 8. This is something which is given. Then again, after 3 years, total number of people is 8. So again to this, 24 will get added. This becomes 244. This becomes 244. Then from here, one person gets removed. So minus 64, 184. Oh, this will be 288 and this becomes 188. Okay, then one more person is added. So total number of people are still 8. Now remember, they're asking for now. That means 4 years are still left. 8 4s are 32. So 32 will get added to this. So this becomes 0, 12, 2, 1, 222. Then I have to do 222. I have to find average. The question is asking for the average. Yes, 222 by 8. Sorry, 220 by 8. So the answer would be 27.5. In real time, this question will take time. Better find some other questions, be it reasoning, and then come back here. Next question. In the given expression, what is the maximum value of n for which the given expression is perfectly divisible by 30 to the power of 10? So I can write this as 3 into 5 into 2 to the power of n. And I need to find the maximum value of n is perfectly divisible. See, that means I have to find the highest power of these, and whichever is the raised to the lowest power, that will be my answer. So now this is again a lengthy question because I have to factorize this, prime factorize this. Like, let me do it for this. I can write 60 as 2 into 30, then 2 into 15. So 2 into 3 into 5. So 2 square into 3 into 5. Similarly, find prime factors for all of them, then add up the powers of 2, 3, and 5. See, finally, you'll get 3 raised to the power of 11 something. And so that what it means is that I need this 30 to be 11 because I need 11 threes. So my answer would be 11. My answer would be 11. A tricky question. Even factorizing all of this itself is so time demanding in real time that it is better left. This question is better left in the exam. 76. Amar bought a certain number of balloons. If he distributes among 10 children, he has 9 left. A standard question. It's an LCM based question. So let's start. He distributes 10. Then he has 9 left. Then if he distributes 9, then he has 8 left. If he distributes 8, he will have 7 left, and so on until he distributes them among 5. That means 7, 6 will be left, 6, 5 will be left, 5, 4 will be left. Now if we see the common difference is 1. We had seen this paper in simulator and SFG also. Here we just have to take LCM of these and then subtract 1 from it. Okay, so your LCM, let me just tell you the LCM. Question number 76.